Okay, cool.
That's why I kept all the data from home down.
The same. Okay, cool. And I'll bring the iPad in tomorrow. So maybe about 8:30. You can meet before the day gets busy. Okay, cool. All right. Thank you. All right. This is not as loud as the other one. I know.
Need a starter pistol.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I hope you all can hear me. The mic sounds a little muffled, but can everyone hear me in the back row of the room? Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Good morning. I'd like to call the meeting of the Committee of the Whole to order. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Anderson,
Present.
Commissioner Basham.
Here.
Commissioner Clark Coleman.
Here.
Commissioner Clemente. Here. Commissioner Dobb.
Here, my tablet is installing an update, so I can't use it right now.
Commissioner
here.
Hattis. Commissioner Hattis. Commissioner Khalil.
Right here.
Commissioner Kenlack.
Present.
Commissioner Kenizi has requested an excuse. Commissioner Marecki.
Here.
Commissioner Baker McCormick.
Here.
Commissioner Scott.
Present.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Badun.
Here.
Vice Chair Palomero.
Here.
Chair Bell.
Here.
You have a quorum present.
Thank you so much. Next item, please.
Approval of the minutes from the September 2023.
Entertain a motion. Okay, it's been moved by Vice Chair Pro Tem Badun, supported by Commissioner Anderson. Any discussion on the minutes from September 20th? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Ayes have it. Next item.
Chair's remarks.
No remarks today. Next item.
Unfinished business, there is none listed. We are moving to new business. Item number 1 is an update on the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 spending process.
Okay, if you can have a seat at the table, the mic at the podium is not working. So everyone, please use the 2 chairs at the end of the table. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. If you could introduce yourself for the record, but before you do that, let me just tee you up. We're having committee of the whole today to discuss a few items that commissioners have been inquiring about. One of them is update on the ARPA spend and how we're doing and what we're doing in that regard. The other is a few approvals along with a couple of updates on Public Services Department and the Henry Ruff Building. But we're going to start with update from our director on the American Rescue Plan dollars. And then after that, we'll go into some approvals, discussions for a couple of other items that are on the agenda. But we wanted to start with this item as to where we are, where we're going, and then what we expect to be in the very near future. So I will turn it over to you, sir.
I appreciate that. It's a pleasure to be here with you all today. Hassan Sheikh, I'm the Director of Economic Development. Here we go. So, as you all know, I came in at the tail end of batch 2. And since then, we've made steady progress. And I've had numerous conversations with pretty much everyone here at the table in regards to, hey, we're focusing on process. We're going to make this a more efficient process, a more accountable process, in a way that will not only allow us to make the most amount of impact with these dollars, but also allow us to be in the best compliance possible with these dollars. And so with that being said, I would like to give you a brief walkthrough from past into the now and a lens into the future. So let's start with ARPA, batch 1, batch 2, the SLRF dollars. As you all know, our total SLRF award was $339 million, $339,789,837. That total amount has now been obligated. The total expended amount thus far with both batches is $14,868,570. And it will likely increase as our M&B team, Floyd Allen, the Allen Law Group, and EY continue the reconciliation and their findings. In batch 1, $97,545,160 was obligated. Of that amount, the total cumulative expenditure thus far is $9,642,538. In batch one, we're starting to see that folks are starting to get the dollars out. Work was starting to be done, especially in the construction season, in the past construction season. And most of all the projects that we've been interacting with and we've been reconciling and reviewing look like they're on par with the timelines. There are a few projects that we have our eyes on just to make sure that they're within their timelines and they're looking like they're going to move forward. And we'll make sure that we continue to report that back to you all. Within batch one, 2 projects have been completed. That is the Mary Grove Community Association project and the City of Lincoln Park's Downtown Fitness Park. So those 2 projects have been completed out of batch one. Batch two, a total of $44,248,625 was obligated. Of that, thus far, only $29,800 has been is cumulatively expended. And that is because batch two is much more recent than batch one. And taking within their timelines of the projects and the scopes, thus far, we see no problems with any of the projects. The timelines call for, moving forth, and you'll see the construction season coming forth in the spring, and we're expecting much more expenditures to come forth over the next fiscal year. In terms of all the SLRF obligations, that totals $159,919,115. We received hundreds of projects via Airtable, 324 projects to be exact. Of that breakdown, 309 were from communities, and then 15 were from nonprofit and or profit organizations. And just to remind, batch one was approved in November of 22, and batch two was approved in March 2nd of 23. With that being said, we are looking through the review process that we've been going through, working and bringing in different arms to make sure that we are getting as many eyes, the right eyes on this as possible, working with our internal M&B team, Corp Counsel, the Allen Law Group, as well as Ernst & Young. We are in a great place to make sure that these dollars are being expended appropriately, and that we have eyes on every cent and dollar that we have, and knowing exactly where and how it's being used, spent, and we are in a much better place when it comes to management of these dollars than we were months ago. And a lot of the questions came up to me from commission: what's going on, what's happening? This was what we were doing in that time period. We are focusing on efficiency and process, and we are moving towards that in a very expedited way, in the sense that we have all the right folks there, and we are making sure that all these dollars are responsibly being handled. What goes into coming into, just put it out there for myself again, coming in at the tail end of batch two, what goes into making sure that when you're walking into an ongoing federal program and taking it over, how we're managing it responsibly and collectively, and making sure that together, administration and commission, we're moving forward in the right way. We've reviewed the past work and the materials. We're in the process of that as well. All previous projects, program materials, finances, making sure for compliance purposes. It's difficult and time consuming, but it has to be done, and we're doing a great job of it thus far. Managing the program, creating and managing prospective projects, managing and reviewing existing projects, ensuring the compliance of ongoing projects, as well as the reporting that goes into this, making sure we're on top of that. And then taking a look at the process and procedures that were input and where there might be ability for us to improve. And we've highlighted those areas, those key areas, and we're continuously doing so, and making sure that our process is the standard, right? And that we are going to make sure that we are at the top and doing the best possible job at making sure that we're managing and in compliance with these dollars. So let's shift a little bit now, going from batch one, batch two, and let's move a little further down the line, right? Now, revenue replacement. Revenue replacement, when we brought it forth in front of commission, it was approved for $190 million $303,638. At that time, we were still in process of evaluating the monies and the dollars. After, Ernst & Young, Allen Law Group, and our internal M&B team, and all of us came together taking a look at the monies, the actual amount that's available for revenue replacement is $179,870,225. And you'll notice that from SLRF to revenue replacement, that equals the total of 339 million and so forth, and change that we spoke about in the beginning for our total allocation. We want to make sure that folks understand that this is going to be a continuous ongoing process. And we're very happy that we were able to approve the amount that you approved at that time, because it has allowed us to not only the flexibility, but given us the flexibility of time and ability to look at and manage and get the proper numbers appropriately, which we're going to continue to make sure that we're transparent and communicative, and that we're reporting back to you all. When we look at potential upcoming projects that come before you, that are coming before you, we have two projects later today on the agenda. And that you'll be seeing in a few items, right? With all that being stated, we're expecting for much of these dollars to be expended from the revenue replacement very, very shortly and very quickly, leaving us with a pool of monies that we will then come back and make sure that we're reporting to you all after we go through those projects and giving you guys an idea of what we're actually working with. So that way, as we're moving forward, we're strategic and making sure that the dollars are being used in the most impactful and most transformative ways possible, as well. First, let's discuss, again, going back to numbers that was approved and obligated, just highlighting the fact that, at that time we were still working through, and we're very appreciative of that we went through that process the way that we did. Ongoing reconciliation and changes to the projects. Given the fluid nature of a large program like this, there's going to be continued updates, amendments, and changes to the projects, and project funding on a routine basis. As you guys have probably seen any projects in your guys' districts, folks have come to you all with different construction costs and hindering, things that are, hinders that come and roadblocks that come. We're going to continue to make sure that we're engaging, communicating with our communities, and staying on top of every single one of the projects that we have that have been approved by this commission to make sure that things are steadily moving forth and are on the path of the timelines that were provided to us. To account for any of these changes, amendments and reconciliations will be performed every quarter. And we will make sure that this body is aware and made sure that you guys are in the loop and in the know. It's important for commission for here to understand that changes to the program is an ongoing and regular basis over coming years, over coming months. And with that being said, with this program, the way that it's going to be changing, know that from our end, we will make sure that, as you've seen over the last couple of months, and now time has gone by very quickly. It's coming up on a year with my work anniversary. But our culture is very transparent, communicative, and we want to make sure that we are going to continue to do that as we move forth in this process. With that being said, those are the major highlights of where we were, what we're doing, revenue replacement, and what our lens is for the future. And what we're going to continue to be doing for you all. Thank you. If there are any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Just for the record, when we began the process with the ARPA dollars, previously, there were buckets that we were going to put into this. There was the health bucket, the economic development bucket, et cetera, and so many dollars in each bucket. So that plan has kind of been scrapped, if you will. And now you're looking at a more global process and procedure on how the funds are to be spent, not necessarily X amount for health, X amount in economic development, just kind of globally looking at the projects as they come to you, and then using your words, making sure that those projects are transformative and impactful to the community. Is that kind of paraphrasing where you're going?
Yes. So thank you for that comment. as Chairwoman said, in the past, we had allocated buckets with the SLURF, and the previous SLURF projects are still within those confines. Once in revenue replacement, we're going to be looking at a more holistic global approach, as Chairwoman so eloquently put. But at the same time, we are going to be making sure that when it comes to the values that we had set forth in regards to what we're looking at when we're evaluating projects, that is consistent with what we have been doing all the way through. But in regards to batches, when in regards to the buckets, we are not going to be going with that system in the revenue when we're moving towards revenue replacement, because at the end of the day, it removes our ability to really highlight the projects that are, again, the most impactful, transformative, and that will allow for us to make the most amount of impact within these communities.
Okay, thank you. And just for a reference point, our largest city received about 3 times the amount of money that we received, with about almost $900 million, and we received about $300 million. But with equity, the same amount of project requests with a smaller bucket of funds. So tons of requests. I think we had $1 billion worth of requests for $300 million. So obviously every project is not going to get approved, but we want to make sure that those that are coming to us are those that individually and collectively that we of course agree with, and that they're going to be transformative and impactful for our entire county.
Absolutely.
Okay, with that being said, questions? Commissioner Marecki? Oh, no. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't have my screen isn't up, so I'll look over here. Commissioner Haydos?
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, the fund has to be spent for. Yes, thank you.
No, that's over there.
Yeah, they told me it's not working anymore. But the amount of money it has to be spent with the time limit from the federal government to the county, how many years we have?
So the SLURF dollars, which was batch 1, batch 2, are still on that timeline, the federal timelines, but the revenue replacement dollars, part of what that process did was that it freed us of these federal restrictions in regards to timelines of when things need to be expended and whatnot. When it comes to the SLURF dollars, you're looking at 26, and each project that has come to us, they've provided us their timelines. And that's what we are looking at to make sure that these projects are in line with being able to expend the dollars and get these projects through by that deadline. And when we see something, if we see a project that looks like it's lagging behind, we're going to be reaching out to these communities and making sure that, hey, what's going on? And make sure that we're informed and keeping an eye on every single dollar that's out there from the SLURF dollars.
So some of the community have a timeline when they could spend the money for the project we approve, right?
Every project, part of the requirements of what they've submitted to us, they provided us a scope and a timeline along with their project. And that is part of what went into the evaluation process for the projects.
So if they fail to comply, the county could take the money. We have time till 26 eventually to award that to different communities.
That is correct in the sense that we can, if certain projects are not in line and for a reason that we feel that it might not be adhering to the contract that and or what was provided with the county, we could potentially take those dollars and bring them back into the county. In terms of the process of where and how, we're still working on certain things, but at the same time, you're looking at revenue replacement, certain dollars that might have to, if they're still adhering to SLURF funding or the SLURF rules, those things will come into account. And when we cross that bridge, if we cross that bridge with any of the communities, we're going to make sure that we're communicating with this body and letting you all know with our plan and the pathway forward that will be in the best interest of the county.
My last question through the chair. Can you explain to us a little bit what the money could be used for? Because I myself asked for something and the answer was those projects not qualify. Can you explain to us what those money could be spent on?
So the federal government with these dollars, if you're talking about SLURF dollars specifically, provided us they set the guidelines, and I'm more than happy to make sure that those guidelines are sent to this body, so that way you guys can get an understanding of what restrictions are put on SLURF dollars and the SLURF funds, and it'll be better. And then if you have any questions after reading, then please I would love to sit down with you all and have that conversation. Because there are a number of guidelines that the federal government have provided in terms of the SLURF dollars specifically. When it comes to revenue replacement, you know, again, federal guidelines have been lifted, but we're still adhering to our notion and the values of that we set forth at the beginning in terms of making sure that not only the project's impactful, transformative, but we're also staying within the spirit of what we had originally planned for these dollars.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Basham?
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I have a reputation as being the skunk at the picnic, so I might as well continue that reputation. We were talking about the buckets. I think the bucket is actually empty or leaking really bad when it comes to downriver. I've talked to a whole lot of folks, and everybody I talked to acts like it's the first time I've talked to them. Brownstown is my largest township in downriver. It goes actually from Lake Erie up to the city of Taylor, and a whole lot of cities bump up to it. And anyway, Brownstown's trying to do a senior center, and they got some money, but they were looking for some money from the county. And I just I continually talk to people, and they act like it's the first time they've ever heard it. So, I mean, I'm going to continue to be the skunk to picnic. If people don't step up, I'm going to start voting against this stuff. And I don't want to vote against this stuff. I want us all to work together, and I want to be a part of this process, but I want you to include everything runs downriver except the money. And so we need to be equal partners in Wayne County with everybody else. So I'm not looking for a response. I'm just looking to make a comment, and I'll let it go at that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm sure Director Shank will discuss that with you further after the meeting. Thank you. Commissioner Irma Clark Coleman?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you provide us with those numbers that you were quoting earlier? So we can have a summary of how much money we receive, how much money's been spent on batch 1, 2, I guess we don't have 3 yet, but and how much money is remaining.
Absolutely, and that was our intentions. So after this meeting, we're planning on providing you all with a high level, you know, just a report so that way you guys have something to work off of, and you know that where we're at. So I wasn't expecting you all to be able to memorize all those numbers, so don't worry. If you saw, I was.
All right. Thank you. Commissioner Baker McCormick?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I too, I'm concerned about the equity and how the funds are being dispersed. You know, it was my suggestion early on that maybe if we gave each district $1 million each, and because we're the boots on the ground, we understand the important projects in our own communities. That way, at least we know that 15 million of 339 million would at least be dispersed equitably, you know, so that each district at least gets a portion. I don't know if you have an update on the Rosedale, Grandmont Rosedale senior complex as well. We were looking at a senior complex as well. Did you have any updates? And I know what you just said about there's not a batch 3 any longer. Is that correct? So we don't know if those projects at all are being done, or what's the status?
So to kind of give some clarity, in regards to there being no more batches does not mean there's no more projects. It's just different in terms of the format, the way that the projects will be coming to you guys. Instead of getting 20 projects at one time, as you see today, there's 2, you're going to start seeing a sliver of projects start coming in front of you. And that allows for not only from our ability of from a management aspect, but also for us to be able to vet and go through these projects appropriately. So projects will be coming forth in front of you, and we are focused on process. We're focused on making sure that it's efficient, but we're also, you know, understanding the of the mindset that we are not sitting on our hands and just, you know, letting this go by. We are still treating with urgency. In terms of equity is a top value for not only myself and my department, but for Mr. Evans. And everything that we approach is through the lens of equity. We are also working on an interactive map. Our IT department and GIS, Mr. Spivey from there is working with us and helping us put together an interactive map, which will put into a visualization of how every district in the county has been touched by dollars in some way or another. And part of that, I want to make sure is I understand that, you know, certain districts may feel, you know, that, you know, as we see here, you know, there's certain projects that are important to them. Projects are important all the way across, and there's not a single project to us that, you know, that we don't see as not worthy of at least being, you know, looked at. And so for us, I would like to make sure that you guys do know that's coming down the line. When we are, it's almost ready for launch. When it is ready, you guys will see it, and then we'll, you know, provide feedback. But for the long term, a visualization of that and showing how equitably the dollars have been spread and the wealth has been spread across the county is going to be coming for you guys.
So as far as Grandmont Rosedale project, have you been in contact with them? Because they've been reaching out to me for the last year and a half, and with no update or status of the project.
Absolutely. Just as a broad statement, every project that comes in front of us, we follow the process. And in terms of communications, in terms of making sure that they're being communicated with, and that, you know, all that. So that on a broad level with every project, Grandmont Rosedale, whether it's Brownstown, whether it's, you know, any project that comes forth, we follow that. We'd love to have an offline conversation with you specifically about this project as well. And we can make sure we follow up on that.
Right. And my last question is, in November, I believe it was of 2022, we approved 32 million, I believe, for small businesses. And I'm just trying to, I can't remember what happened with those dollars. Can you give me an update of that? Do you know what I'm referring to? At that time,
That was the 50 million for Simca, and of that 32 was going to be for workforce development.
No, this
This is additional,
this is separate.
separate.
When Wafa was here, and she went, remember the 32
DEI?
million? That's right.
Yeah.
There was 32 million for small businesses set aside, and they were supposed to go to whatever company she went to, and they were going to help us disperse those funds to small businesses. So I'm just wondering what happened to those dollars, and have we dispersed those funds?
In regards to our commitment, importance to us, you know, we love our small business community, and from an economic development perspective, you know, we are absolutely keen on making sure that our small business community is served in the best way. When it comes to the $32 million that you're referring to, when we come in, we are looking at strategic ways in terms of whether this is the amount that should be allocated, what the most impactful and transformative way and equitable way to spend the dollars, and how we can make the most amount of impact with dollars. But small businesses, entrepreneurship and whatnot is a priority item for my department.
Okay, so that is you don't know where the funds are or how they're being dispersed?
We
or-
are
I'm
currently.
just trying to figure out
Sure.
what happened to the funds.
Oh, I appreciate the
Mhm.
question, Commissioner. Currently, we are taking a look at our strategy in terms of the best usage and what will make the most amount of impact with our small business and entrepreneurship communities. And thus, after we take that assessment into account, we will be more than happy to come back to you all and share a plan of the best way to move forward in terms of serving this
Okay.
community.
So right now, the funds are just kind of, we're just holding, I guess, until we figure out a plan.
We are coming in to the department and taking a look at the county and what the needs are. We are in the assessment process of looking at what the most impactful way, equitable way, transformative way to take these dollars and make sure that the small business community, the entrepreneurship community is going to be affected in the most positive way, and how we can make sure that we are filling in the gaps that are needed. With that strategy will then come a plan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate I guess you'd call it update. Where we haven't been provided any information of what you've presented so far other in writing. And I understand, thanks to Commissioner Clark Coleman asking for it. I hope we'll get that soon. One of the things that the delays in the decision-making is, I think, jeopardizing funds that people, and I brought this up before at one of our budget meetings, that they've got commitments from other sources for projects. By not getting an answer on whether their project is going to be considered or going to be approved for such a long period of time, I'm afraid they're going to lose the commitments that they've got. And I just wondered how soon we're going to start seeing these other projects come through.
We have 2 projects coming today.
I realize that, but there's many more. I know we had done groups of projects before. So, and my understanding is because the notice was put out that all cities or any community that had a proposal they wanted to submit, you were still accepting more. One of the previous times that you spoke before us. So that is creating even more concern as to when we're going to see these proposals considered in something that we're getting to consider approving as a board or as a commission. So I'm really concerned that this is dragging out extremely long. And that we're not getting, it seems to be, I know you're saying you're trying to be, transparent, but we're not getting anything as far as hard facts, as far as projects that have been approved. We're getting sort of the 2-step, I guess. So I'm really concerned that we're not making any progress at this point. And I'd like to see something happening quicker, because this is just, like I said, you've been with us for a year. I would have thought by now we would be much further along. We would have more projects to be looking at. I guess it's not a question, it's more of a statement, but I am very concerned about where we're headed, and who's making the decisions on these. When you're considering them, who's sitting reviewing that information?
So first and foremost, I appreciate you expressing your concern, and it's duly noted. When it comes to the process in which we take and vet projects and we look at projects, that has been shared with you, at least since I've been on numerous times, and I'm sure that it was shared with you prior to my being on as well. But more than happy to share it with you once more and once again. We have our internal review committee, and then from there goes to Mr. Evans, and essentially prior to coming to you all. At the end of the day, all these projects are approved by the commission. So when it comes to the internal process, again, more than happy to share that with you again.
It just for the record, it seems to be changing. It seems to be very fluid where those decisions are made. So I realized when you came in, there was a lot of concern about where we're going. And like I said, I just don't see that there's any serious effort to put things together quickly and it correctly. I understand you want to be careful how they're handled. But the transformative projects, I'm sure there's many of them that have been submitted that we're just not, as I said before, we're just not seeing the progress. And that's, and I did not, I have not received anything lately about the people that are making that decision on what's going to be recommended to the commission. So just for the record, we're not seeing that. We're not even seeing that, who's making that decision. So we'd like to, I for one, would like to know who's sitting in the room looking at these projects.
Appreciate that commentary. And again, we have expressed and shared the process before. Happy to do it again.
Thank you.
And to that point about the projects, are we still accepting projects or are we at a hold now that all that we have in is all that we're going to look at?
As of right now, projects are still being accepted. And part of that is the thought process that if transformational, impactful projects are coming in, we want to make sure that we're seeing those. But at the same time, we do understand that there will be a point at some point where, we're going to want to close it. And we'll make sure that we are communicating with this body when that time comes. So that way you guys can make sure that you're letting your districts and your communities know.
Okay. Commissioner Killeen?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to echo a few of the comments from my colleagues, Commissioner Clark Coleman and my neighbor here. I saw that we were getting an update on the 330 million. And we get here and there's no report. I don't get any report ahead of time. It's hard to follow the bouncing ball when all of this is oral and you see the kind of questions that have come up. What are the projects already approved? We're not doing buckets anymore. We're doing another process. You mentioned, Director Shake, that you were going to send something to the commission after this. But Madam Chair, I would like to see that the commission formally request when people come, give us your written, so I have a basis for asking some questions and performing my oversight functions. Because I'm going to get something in writing. Maybe it covers everything, maybe it doesn't. But after I get that report, then I'm in a position to be asking some questions. Right now, it's hard to know kind of what questions to ask. Obviously, from some of the questions, commissioners are still a little unclear about what happened to batches 1 and 2 and what was approved and what wasn't. So I think the report has to be comprehensive here so we know what's going on. And in that report, I'd like you to respond to, you've been using terms like transformational and impactful and all that kind of stuff. Well, what those projects are is based on what your goals are. Some things might not be considered impactful or transformational if that's not the goal that you're looking at. Now, we started out with buckets and we identified the areas we wanted to invest in. And so then it's easy to see, okay, we're making the commitment to public health, we're making it to economic development. And to me, that's a basis for what in this area, what means transformational, what means now we're in an area where I don't see we have that, or at least I don't, and I don't have a written report today. So when you report to us, Mr. Shake, I'd like you to discuss a little bit transformational and impactful projects. What is the parameters you're looking at there to be able to evaluate whether these things are impactful or transformational? So too many numbers, Madam Chair. Millions here, millions there. What's going on here? Without it in writing, we need it ahead of time. I'm a little concerned about the discussion we're going to have about the Henry Ruff building. There's going to be a whole lot of questions. And if there's not like a written report ahead of time, then we'll get we'll give you a report after the meeting. And that's when all the questions will come based on what we're being told. So I'm a little concerned about these reports. So if we could, Madam Chair, when reports come to us, committee of the whole or whatever, in committee, that a written report come first. I know of no other way to do my job. So that's what I'm looking for, as detailed as possible, right? And if you're still accepting projects, provide a timeline. If that was in the report, I could ask, right? But I don't know. Are there going to be no more projects after November 30th? None after December 31st? What's going on with that? And remind us of the timeline when those things have to be spent, right? Because now we're kind of doing a little bit different rules, although we're going to kind of adhere, right, to the federal original guidelines.
With revenue replacement?
Well, we got rid of the buckets. We were within the federal guidelines. Right.
With revenue replacement, due to the fact that we no longer have to adhere to the federal
Right.
guidelines.
But
we have a little
you,
more flexibility.
so indicate in your report, what are you adhering to there? I thought I heard you say we're still sticking pretty close
When it
to
comes
that.
to the values of vetting the projects, sir.
But that's, again, this is very difficult to do in a conversation.
Understood,
Um,
understood.
It's just, that's why you get textbooks in school, so you can go home and read, and you come in the next day and go, what the hell was this about the Krebs cycle, and trying to understand things. And then maybe we'll have to do this again, Madam Chair, after we get a report and see what kind of questions commissioners have at that point. But that's my main thing, is we need this ahead of time. Please be as complete as possible.
Duly noted.
And I think, Madam Chair, the commission should just have not in expectations, but if you're going to come give a report, proceed it before the commission. Proceed it with a written document. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. And we have unlimited amount of cows we can have. So if we have to have one just on this issue after we get a report, that's certainly something that we can do. Commissioner Kinlock?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. When Mr. Hassan took over this role, he came to us, and at that time, he explained to us that there was going to be a revamping of the processes. There were challenges in understanding that process, not just with this commission, but there was also some challenges in understanding the processes from what we were told that came from within the administration. We basically had the buckets. Those buckets were generated based upon the ARPA dollars and the requirement that came under the statutes. But then Mr. Hassan had come here a number of times and explained to us that those limitations would or did go away once we transferred those dollars, and those dollars became revenue replacement dollars. And so I appreciate his regular updates. We're getting these updates more often. We may not be hearing what we want, but at least he's not spending us as have been spun in the past, and not making commitments at the table or even commitments away from the table that have confused a lot of the discussion and discourse that we're having. That $32 million, we absolutely knew there was problems with that $32 million. We read it in the paper that there were issues with that $32 million. And that's why they had to create systems to basically recheck and double check projects before they made its way to the commission, because there were some flaws with folks making commitments to communities out there without, from my understanding, the administration absolutely being on board with it. No, I appreciate the internal controls that you're putting, that you have put in place. And like the chair said, we could have many more cows, and commission stands readily available to me to get that. But these are discussion. This was listed as a discussion, not as a report. It was listed as a discussion, so we can have some conversation, so you will know what to include in a report to further expand on conversations that we're having at this table. So I appreciate that and the oversight systems that you have put in place. I appreciate the sensitivity that you're taking to making sure that no misinformation is further being pushed as it relates to the ARPA situation. So I'm looking forward to continuing to get updates and for you to generate a report that will that's coming from these discussions this morning.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. I appreciate that and absolutely understood. And again, appreciate the kind words.
Thank you. Commissioner Basham?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. You said a couple of times in your statements that you were new at this. When did you start working at the county?
I never said I was new at this.
I
New to
mean,
the
when you
position.
came on board. New to this-
When did you come on board?
I'm quite experienced, my friend.
Okay, but when did you come on board?
It's about a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
To that point, I talked to, text, the administrator for Brownstown Township. And I said, I applied directly to the county. Oh, this is what he said to me. I'm sorry. I applied to the county, on their site to request projects under their ARPA program. I've been talking to Wayne County Economic Development Director since last year. The latest point of the contact for Wayne County Economic Development is Lucius Anthony. I applied in spring of this year. They confirmed that they received our application in the spring of this year, and I have followed up several times with Lucius to see if there are any updates on the decision. But obviously, there has not been one. And they talked to me and I tried to talk to people, and it's not like there has not been a conversation before today about this ARPA fund. So whoever Lucius is, you need to talk to Lucius and say he needs to put all of us in the system to make sure that, you got a job to do, but I do too. And I don't want to be anti, but I represent, a large portion of Wayne County, and I got people contacting me daily about things, and I'm going to do my job and go home. So does that make sense?
Appreciate the comment, sir.
Does it make sense though?
We have a process that's being followed, and from what I'm understanding, it looks like the communications are being had. What I would like to, and that's what I would like to make sure that my commitment to this body has been to be communicative and transparent. And when there's an opportunity for me to be more communicative, absolutely welcome that. And I'm absolutely hearing you, sir, and absolutely would love to be more communicative, and we can definitely have more conversations. Absolutely.
Thank you. And I will remind commissioners that we're probably going to be here for about 3 hours. So just pace yourself. And I have ordered lunch as well. So just know that too. Commissioner Baker McCormick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to clarify, you will be providing a report with what you just covered today? Is that what you indicated earlier?
So I'm looking forward to continuously providing updates. Now, if the body would like a continuous report, to me, that is also an update. If whatever that format looks like, I'm more than happy to have that discussion. But I would like to make sure that this body understands that this is not the first and only time that I'm going to be up here providing you guys with updates. I've been very communicative with everybody on this body, with this board, whether it be as a whole, one-on-ones, and I will continue to do that and make sure that this body is brought up to speed, in the loop, and in the know.
So I appreciate you, giving us this update. I'm just trying to clarify, are you going to give it to us in writing?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, so
Okay.
I will be providing you guys.
Something in writing?
Yep.
Okay, and will it include what is happening with the workforce development project for the 51 million
That will
that we
be,
set aside?
that will be coming forth in front of you guys separately. That is on the docket and we have not dropped the ball on that. We've been moving forward on it. And that will be coming in front of this body in the next coming commission meetings, hopefully. But we are working towards that, and you guys will be getting updates on that very soon.
Okay, and then for the revenue replacement, you indicated that there is no deadline, is that correct? There is no deadline and for projects or for completion of projects?
In terms of what they put on, but we, as a body, we take a look at their timelines that they provide us. And we make sure that in revenue replacement, when projects come in, we take into account the timelines that they provide us within the entirety of the project. And we take a look at that, and we make sure that, we're not gonna, bring a project in front of you all that says that it's not going to be completed for 20 years, we're not going to do that. But at the same time, we're making sure that, we're vetting the projects and that we in itself are bringing forth respectable timelines in front of this body.
Okay, so what does respectful timelines mean? I'm just trying to figure out is if it's a year or 5 years, how long do we have that Wayne County? Yeah, I know it depends, but we need to know what we're looking at as to how long we think these dollars will be spent, or when the dollars will be spent.
Appreciate the
So,
feedback, Commissioner.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Clemente.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Director. I just wanted to say, so what was asked for was what your statements were today. So that's what you're going to provide us. Two, I think in that, could you also mention who our project managers are? Because I know when I first came on, I figured out who my project managers were, and that's who I've been talking to. So that's who Lucius is a project manager. And that's all. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And before you leave, Director, if you have any of your team here, you can ask them to stand if there any of them are here. Okay, all right. So that is the economic development team with the people who are working as project managers, correct, sir?
Yes, sir. We have project managers, and we also have my deputy director, as well as our senior business advisor as well. So our team is steadily growing, building. Great team, very dedicated, and very proud of the work that they're doing. And we're going to continue to provide this county and the residents of this county with the utmost of services.
All right, thank you. Couple more questions. Commissioner Haydos?
For recognizing me for the second time. As we all know, the practice getting fund from the federal government and the state sometime depend how we use the money and how fast we use it. And I feel we're moving very slow and spending those dollars when we have more project than what we could afford. You said we have $1 billion and we only got $300 million. So I hope in my district alone, I could spend the whole $300 million today. But we need to move a little bit faster because I do believe that would affect our position with the federal government, dragging our feet, spending that money for that long. They might feel we don't need it. So I think we need to get to the issues and fast track because there are many projects waiting for approval and spend that money. Dragging the time, I don't think it's benefit to Wayne County. It's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, Commissioner Basham, last word.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be short. The thing of it is, when your department, and I won't blame you on this one, but when they're not getting back with people that's applied for ARPA funds, is there a breakdown between the people that work for you and you, or is there a breakdown between you? Where's the breakdown in the district? Because I'm reading, when I read this from the administrator, they applied last year and they still haven't heard nothing yet. It's like, can't you tell them what they need to do? They said they got some of their own funding to apply for this. They give all the specifics on what they wanted. I mean, what does it take to move this project forward? Like some of my colleagues have said, I don't want to keep beating this like a dead horse, but the point is, that's who I work for, is folks in my district, and I'm not going to back off on stuff like that. And I don't want to be anti everything else because I didn't get what I want. If they're giving you specific information on a fund, on a project, and you haven't got back with them. I mean, not you personally, but the department. I mean, where's the breakdown there?
So first off, I want to say I appreciate your dedication to your district. I think all the commissioners here are very dedicated to the district, and that is something that we all share in common in terms of our dedication to the residents of Wayne County. When it comes to the breakdown, I do want to make sure that there's a clarity here in the sense that from what you're describing, there was no breakdown in communication. It just seems that they're waiting for an answer of a yes or a no, and they haven't gotten that yet. But there has been communication in terms of anytime we get an email from a project, anytime there's an ask for a meeting, ask for a phone call, ask for a Zoom, we jump on them right away. And the line of communication and response is very high. And I make sure that our team is on it, and our team is very good at that. Now, when it comes to getting the answer of a yes or a no, that's where I do feel, or where I sense that there is the frustration on. And like I said, now you're going to be seeing projects coming forth in front of you more often than not, as we do have 2 on the docket for today.
Okay, thank you. And I will have the last word by Commissioner Vice Chair Palomero.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Mr. Shake, for bringing your outstanding staff today. And I'm sure you understand the angst of members wanting to know if there's going to be projects funded in their district. I'm sure you understand it.
Absolutely.
By the same token, even though you are here today taking some arrows, the decision on which projects are going to be funded is not going to be made by you exclusively or your staff, but there's a number of county executive positions, assistant county executives, the deputy county executive, the county executive that are involved in making that decision. Isn't that accurate? Well, the commission gets the final word and say it, but the recommendations are made by a conglomerate of people that I just mentioned. Isn't that accurate?
Yes, and we've shared the process with this body in the sense of how it comes from A to Z in front of you all. And part of that process is our internal steering committee and whatnot. And part of these processes have been put in place specifically to allow us to vet these projects, to make sure that the projects that are, again, the most impactful, transformational, and equitable, as well as that adhere to the other values, are coming forth in front of this body.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And again, thank you, Director, for coming before us. And I think the angst, as Vice Chair Palomero just mentioned, is the fact that communities don't know. And as painful and hurtful as it's going to be, some people are going to be told no. And I guess the point is of me saying that is that maybe if it's going to be a no, just tell them it's going to be a no, so that they can move on with whatever is next, and know and why, so that they can move on. Because everybody, like I said, Commissioner Hayes said he could spend $330 million in his district. We all could, right? But we have to kind of know, so they can know to move on. The funding is not coming from us to find other funding. So maybe that should be something that needs to be done rather quickly. If it's going to be a no, and then why, and then let everyone know so that they can continue on. So again, thank you for coming today. We do have a jam-packed agenda. We will have another meeting once we get the update from you in writing if warranted. So, but we thank you for coming today and your team for coming today.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, sir. At this time, I'd like to go to item number 3.
Item number 3 is requesting commission approval of an intergovernmental agreement between the Carter County of Wayne and the city of Livonia not to exceed $8 million for partial funding of the Livonia Senior Center project.
I think that's Miss Allen. Or not? We're going to number 3. Number 3. Oh, hey, hello, Director. You're back so soon.
Good morning, Commission. Long time no see. Hope everybody's
And I
doing
believe, is the mayor still here?
Yes, yes.
I thought I'm trying to get to the mayor while she was still here. Okay, number 3, please.
Hassan Sheikh, Director of Economic Development here. And before you today, we have a potential that is the Livonia Vision 21, the phase 1 part of that. And with us today, we do have the mayor of Livonia, and I would like to give her the mic just to give her greetings.
Good morning, everybody. I do appreciate, there we go. Good morning, everybody. Really do appreciate the opportunity to be here. We are excited. Joining me today are Ted Davis, our Director of Parks and Recreation, as well as Dave I'm looking behind me. Who do we have there? We've got Dave Varga, Chief of Staff, and we're excited. As you can tell, the opportunity to even begin to discuss with you an $8 million project that is truly transformational for our community is one that we're excited to bring before you today.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. So getting into it, the Livonia project, it's the first step in implementing the city community's inspired master plan called Livonia Vision 21, which is to create a downtown and its civic center area. This transformational economic development plan will be launched by relocating the Livonia Senior Center to the Jackie Kirksky Recreation Center.
We don't have that before. We don't have what you're looking at there.
Number 3.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, and then the package was also emailed to you.
Okay, maybe it's Mal.
Okay, okay. Go ahead, sir.
The proposed new 25,000 square foot facility will be built onto and integrated completely with the Kirksky Recreation Center to accommodate expanded public health needs. The total cost of the project is $21,495,250. The community's contribution to this project is $7,995,000. Contributions from other partners are $5,500,250. And what the ask of the county is an $8 million contribution. Now, this project, it's going to create safer, healthier spaces directly connected with the recreation center. This center serves a large regional senior population. 22% of the users come from outside of Livonia. And it's going to clear out a functionally obsolete senior center with cramped spaces and poor ventilation. And it topples the first domino for the city in terms of allowing for redevelopment of the city space in terms of their long-term plans for the area. The economic impact is that you're going to see a public-private investment opportunity of over $200 million, $840,000 in new taxes, as well as new housing for 1,245 new Livonia residents and creation of about 60 to 80 jobs as well. So with that being stated, are there any questions or concerns?
Commissioner Marecki? You didn't raise your hand, but I didn't know he wanted to say something.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm very excited. And this project's been worked on for a long time. And I was right at the beginning with all of this, and Livonia always shines in any kind of project they do. And you can be rest assured that this will be done when it's supposed to be done, and it'll be high quality, and every penny will be spent very well. And it's very exciting. The mayor and I years ago were on the committee that built Jack Kirksey's Center 30 years ago.
It's as old as Ellie, so only 21.
Oh, only 21. It feels like 30. But anything Livonia does, it's a high efficiency project. So I ask for your consideration on this because it's really exciting. We have a very vibrant senior group, and as Mr. Shake said, a lot of the seniors come from different areas. And they did a study on the different cities and townships they're coming from, but it's a very vibrant group, and this is going to be a great opportunity. And these seniors get out, they exercise, they play games, they do a lot of different things. So it's really a kind of a gem in the whole region. So I'm asking for your consideration as well. And yeah, pretty excited.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Anderson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to add to my colleagues' comments. It's probably one of the busiest senior centers I've ever been to. And it's grown, the senior population in Livonia has grown exponentially in probably the last 15 years. And seniors in Livonia are staying in their keeping their homes. The turnover as a real estate agent myself, and I know my colleague to my left would probably agree with that the turnover on the homes is very slow because the senior population is staying put, and there's people that realize the opportunities that are afforded them, and especially the senior program in Livonia. It's an attraction. It's really an attraction. And I guess, I think Terry touched on the center they currently have. They've really maintained it well, but it's just totally been outgrown. The number of people that use that facility and things that are open to to other organizations to have meetings there in the evening when the seniors programs are pretty much done for the day. That's another element of that, and I'm sure that'll continue with the new facility too. But it's in great need, and it'll serve a lot of people. And I think I ask everyone's consideration for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Basham?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. It's good that Livonia has a progressive mayor who does a great job, bipartisan. And I was listening and I think it's great for Livonia. But the percentage of what the community has to put in versus what the county puts in, I think is adequate. But I would hope that the Economic Development Director would look at those things when they looked at Brownstown, because it sounds like it's my district, only it's a little bit larger project. So it's too far for downriver folks to drive up to Livonia for the senior center. But we appreciate what you're doing. We just want you to do the same thing, the county with downriver also. We are part of Wayne County. Everything flows downriver. Thank you.
Except the money.
Exactly.
Don't start, Commissioner Baydun. I know, don't start. All right. Any additional discussion on item number 3? Any additional discussion on item number 3? Is there a motion? Moved by Commissioner Marecki, supported by Commissioner Anderson. Discussion, Commissioner Basham? You all set? Any other discussion? Moved by Commissioner Marecki, supported by Commissioner Anderson. Please vote. How am I all in favor? Say aye. I would do this now. Okay.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you so much. And this will be forwarded to full board on the committee of the whole agenda for tomorrow. So, okay, thank you. Next item number 2, please.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, for coming down today and your team. Thank you.
Item number 2 is requesting commission approval of an intergovernmental agreement between the Charter County of Wayne and Wayne County Regional Educational Service Agency, RESA, not to exceed $13,495,129 to provide educational and mental health services to Wayne County students outside of the city of Detroit.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, if you could give a description on this project. Go ahead, turn over to you.
Morning, Janelle Allen, Chief Operating Officer with the Wayne County Executive's Office. And it's a pleasure to be here, especially with our partners, Wayne RESA. Here today with me is Dr. Davida Colbert, who is the superintendent, as well as Melissa Fernandez, who is our director of the Juvenile and Youth Services Department, which will actually be overseeing this project. As we've heard this morning in our earlier discussions, the devastation, the impact of COVID on our Wayne County communities has just been tremendous. And no area or few areas have been harder hit than in the area of the loss of student learning. That is why we have designated education in this particular project or this initiative, because there are 3 components to it, as a very high priority. And who would be a better partner than our partners with our intermediate school district led by Dr. Colbert to actually help us identify where we can have the biggest impact and to leverage our collective resources. And so Dr. Colbert will actually address the different initiatives, but we went to our superintendents with Dr. Colbert. Mr. Evans and I actually had the opportunity to meet with their superintendents group, which was phenomenal, to actually hear directly from them about where did they believe the greatest needs are. Of course, we know that we have our ideas, but who better than our own educator and our education leaders to let us know how best to impact and address this issue. And those 3 main issues that we will be presenting on are literacy, math, and mental health services. And with that, I'll let Dr. Colbert give more detail about why those particular areas and how these programs will work. And then Melissa will discuss, though, how these programs and services actually intertwine and would be impacted by the services that the county provides through our Juvenile Youth Services Department.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning to the chair and to each of the commissioners. Thank you for allowing me to be here. I am Davita Colbert, Superintendent of Wayne Risa, and I am very honored to have been asked to be a part of this meeting. I'd like to share that 1 year ago, as COO Allen said, County Executive Warren Evans and COO Allen attended a meeting that was held in Brownstown at Woodhaven Brownstown High School. So we were downriver.
There you go, right?
So
There
I wanted
you go.
to make sure that we were clear that we were downriver and the money will flow downriver. So we had that opportunity to meet at the beautiful Woodhaven High School. And at that time, absolutely in your district. The superintendents, as stated, were present. And when county executive said what he said, I could just say that the list was flowing. So they were just going on and on and on because there are definite needs. And so they were excited about the opportunity. What we did as they exited the room is we went into a strategy session to really talk about the highest priority and where data represented the greatest needs. With that, we streamlined and submitted 5 proposals about 30 to 45 days later to the executive through COO Allen. And those 5 proposals, the first 2 I'll just share were universal meals, and then the second, high dosage tutoring, of which we're glad to say that universal meals have now been funded through the school aid budget, which is truly outstanding for Michigan to be the 7th state to sign on to have universal meals. So we're very thankful of that. The second being high dosage tutoring, but also as part of the school aid budget, there's a back on track, kids back on track funding, which actually helps to support that initiative. So those 2 proposals are not presented in your, I hope that you have a packet in front of you or have received information on this previously, but there should be 3 different proposals that should have been shared with you. So the 3 remaining, which we're excited about, which in total is about $13+ million, are 1, mental health, and I heard that bucket, even though I know we're not into buckets anymore, but I heard the health bucket. So 1 would be aligned with that. Mental health support, so ensuring that our students have the supports that they need. And I'll say that these supports were needed pre-pandemic, but they were exacerbated throughout and after the pandemic. You have, and I believe some small data, or it was when shared as part of your packet, how the MiFi speaks to the needs of our students. And as well, I want you to know that several of our districts also participate in a statewide student voice and perception survey, which also gives us data about the needs for our students. I could call out names of students right now in districts that experience, unfortunately, suicides, completed suicides this past school year. With that being said, we want to continue to ensure that supports are there. The school aid budget gives us dollars, and if you do school aid 31, I'll just say the alphabet, A through Z, because there's AA funding, there's N funding, P funding, et cetera. We, as you've given an analogy, we have projects listed at $1 billion, but as you said, there's only 300 million. We receive that same kind of scenario when it comes to our 31 AA funding for mental health supports, for supports around social emotional learning. We receive more proposals than we have dollars for in Wayne County. With that, part of our submission for this proposal included the remaining proposals that were unfortunately not funded by the 31 AA or A and N or P and every allocation that we had. There were some that still were not funded. So what we asked for in our proposal submission to the county was the remaining dollar amount for those funds, those projects that were not funded, which was a little over $3 million. And then there was a $300 $100,000 ask that was for additional supports, which could look like a vendor opportunity for additional counseling outside of school, which also needs to not only be for students, but when you have students getting supports, but parents also have questions and need support, there's additional support that's needed. It's almost like a family support mechanism that continues to reinforce what is happening throughout the school day. So that ended up being one of our proposals. So the mental health supports proposal, which is $3,000+ is again a continuation of funding that we had already received, did not have enough. So we asked for the remaining amount that was needed to fund all of those projects. Again, these are out Wayne County projects. They are not inside of the city of Detroit because those projects have been funded with a different pool of money. So this would be the out Wayne County, which would include all of the remaining submissions of health needs. Those dollars are specific for mental health professionals to be hired inside of schools again. And then the remaining of those, that 300,000 of our request was for the vendor-driven support, which was the additional counseling. I also lift that we have been and continue to be in consultation with our Detroit Wayne Integrated Health Network. We have a great relationship there. Last year, before we submitted our application for 31 AA for those dollars in that section 31, we I have with me Beth Gonzalez, our Educational Services Deputy Superintendent, and Andrew McMeekin. Please wave so that they know that I'm talking about you two in the audience. The two of them, Beth Gonzalez actually worked along with Terry Zawinski, who at that time was our lead nurse consultant, who is now the director of Safe and Healthy Schools. We worked directly and consistently with Detroit WIN. And again, this was part of their conversation around how community supports could play a role in supporting our mental health needs inside of our schools. So hopefully that gives you an overview of the mental health proposal. That was one of 3. Any questions there before I move to the second one?
Any questions? Okay,
Just to clarify,
Commissioner,
it's 3 million.
Oh, did I say 3 million? I'm sorry,
said
3 million.
3,000.
Oh, I'm
3
sorry, 3
million.
million.
Commissioner Clemente?
300,000.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Dodd was first.
she
Commissioner
was
Dodd?
first, yeah.
So I actually have some questions on the overall thing, so I'll just hold mine till the end.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Commissioner Clemente?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have one question. I just need to know what an LEA is and what a PSA is. I know what RISA stands for and I know what but I don't know. I'm taking guesses.
You're right.
As an
Let me get my
educator,
acronym
but I
game
don't
together.
know for sure.
So Wayne RISA, Regional Educational Services Agency, LEA, Local Education Agency. So that would be the school districts, Wyandotte Public Schools, that would be Detroit Public Schools Community District, but of course they're not included in this proposal because of the out Wayne County. It will be Livonia Public Schools. So LEA would be absolutely Lincoln Park, South Redford, Redford Union, Hamtramck, Brownstown, absolutely, Gibraltar, Flat Rock. Okay, so it would be all 33. Okay, then the PSA would be the public school academies. So just say it would be Huron Academy, it would be Summit Academy, it would be. So, okay, LEA, Local Education Agency, PSA, Public School Academy.
Thank you.
No problem. And we
Commissioner
have
Rickey?
99 of those and 33 of the LEAs. And that number shifts. Last year, when we submitted this proposal, we were at 103 public school academies. This year, currently, right now, we're at 98 for the entire county. I say 99, we're at 98 because one, unfortunately, is just closed.
Commissioner Marecki, then Commissioner Basham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome.
Thank you.
With mental health, can you just tell me a little bit more about this? I mean, are these professionals going to be in the schools? I always worry about the parents knowing what's going on with their kid and what kind of communication can we be assured of? And just kind of let me know what this, and none of the private schools can ask for help for their children in this kind of proposal.
So these dollars are specifically for the LEAs and PSAs.
Okay.
Specific.
Okay.
And the mental health professionals are hired inside of schools.
Okay.
2 of the districts have decided to partner like the route of DWIN, where they would use an outside community organization. And then the 300,000 would be for the vendor driven, which would also be that family support. So remember, when we talked about 300,000, that allows for students, families, parents, the entire family network to be able to get these supports. So one vendor would have a series on parent guidance and they provide resources. Another one would help the entire family, not just the student, but also mom. Mom may ask, how can I ensure that I am not triggering, Johnny when Johnny is, being silent. And I want to ask why he's being silent. How do I approach this? What questions do I ask? What questions do I stay away from at that time, but then find a way to insert ways in which I give prompts to get Johnny to be a little more responsive, to tell me what's going on. Also, how do I stay away again from triggers that then cause additional trauma around ACEs, our adolescent, childhood those adverse childhood experiences. So it really supports that vendor piece, that 300,000 supports that family piece. And again, it's family. And I know that I will share with you that there are opportunities for parents to get the supports they need to find out how to support their children. That's what that's about. And I don't want to just name vendors, but I can share with you there are many and community organizations that do that now, because it's not always just about me helping Johnny or Jeanette. It really is about me helping the entire family to ensure that Johnny and Jeanette are successful. Now, the professionals inside of schools, that is one-on-one. It is that some of them are behavioral therapists. Some of them go along them continuing to hire social workers and psychologists. And please know that there are plans that require parent support. So parent awareness, parent commitment, because some of those go even outside of the school day, which could then connect you to additional services through DWIN and others. So it is definitely, it's not an isolated, it's not a secret. And I will say that there are times though, when things are given to mental health professionals where then they have a duty to make CPS reports and or other reports. And so in those instances, there may be times where a parent is not alerted or identified at that moment because of the safety of the child.
Right. Yeah, I understand. I totally understand that. But you hear not stories around here necessarily, but across the country of parents finding out that they've had some kind of counseling. They didn't know anything about it. Had nothing to do with the safety of like what you're referring to, but that's always my main concern with these kind of things when monies are flowing into these kind of projects. So I hope I never hear.
No, absolutely.
It happens like that.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Commissioner Scott?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you all for being here today. This is really wonderful. So will these professionals report to Wayne Risa?
These professionals report directly to the individual district that is hiring them. So all of these will be district-led initiatives. The flow through is the money as we serve with $500 million with a flow through of where we are the flow through. We just make sure that the money gets where it's needed. And then we also provide that reporting. We ensure that the supports are in place. We provide the reporting back to the avenue, whether it's the state or the federal government. So we have reports that must be filled out and we must be able to show that the money was expended in a timeline. I think there should have been a scope and timeline in front of you. Originally, we thought that these dollars had to be spent by September of 2024. It appears that we would have until September 2025, but we have a plan and we will be monitoring the expenditures along the way. And I am more than happy, along with my team, to come back and report as needed to ensure that you are aware of what this looks like moving forward. And I'll also bring those superintendents and those that are receiving, because none of these dollars, I believe that there's a 3% administrative fee just for RISA to continue to do the reporting, but these dollars do not stay with RISA. They go directly to districts. And as I said, there are only 2 areas in which there's an RFP that has already gone out for vendor-driven services. One is for this one, the mental health at 300,000, along with, like I said, the 3 million, there we go, is for the actual mental health professionals. And then another proposal where I talk about a diverse text, there is an RFP for that one as well.
Now, will the professionals be in the schools on a daily basis?
Absolutely.
All right, very good. Thank you all so much.
And
It's
just to
wonderful.
reiterate why the county thought it was ideal to partner with RISA, because as Dr. Colbert said, that they're going to be contracting and sending money out to the districts, then the county would have had to have all these relationships with the 33 districts. We have the PSAs. It just would have been unmanageable on our end, but RISA being the expert, and then that's where they'll be reporting to the county. But RISA will be the one, in essence, then enforcing, monitoring. And then if they need support from the county, of course, we'll be there, but that's why we thought they were the ideal partner.
Thank you all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Baydun?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for being here, and thank you for bringing this issue to light, especially mental health. It's such a big issue in our country. You outlined, Janelle, 3 areas: literacy, math, and the mental health. So in terms of the literacy and math, does Wayne RISA provide the different schools? For example, do they provide Dearborn with the material that they use in their schools, or we just provide them with the funding and they buy their own books and literacy material to enhance the literacy of students, if you will?
That answer, the latter. We provide the actual funding. So the literacy piece, which is the second proposal, and I can slide to that to give that example. So the literacy proposal is for, as you all are very aware, we must continue to improve outcomes around literacy and math. So those why the next 2 have been selected. The literacy is for high quality, high interest, culturally relevant text. And that is a high leverage practice for us to continue to improve the love of reading, which when you improve the love of reading, then you improve the engagement level, which ultimately improves the proficiency rate. So the high quality, high interest, culturally relevant text will have to be, and has already gone out, an RFP for a vendor to provide that. Then the districts, many of whom are already using this and who want to use it more, will use this as part of their supplemental pieces of material to go along with the curriculum that they already have in place. But you must have these kinds of text. Diverse text is a reality. There needs to be representation. I need to see myself inside of what I'm reading. I need to see myself as a plumber, as an electrician, as a mechanic. I need to be able to read about how I get there. And this is how we do it, again, with the high quality, high interest, culturally relevant text. So Dearborn, for instance, would then be reimbursed for them selecting and using the vendor, which almost every district is already or has previously worked with some of the vendors who have responded to the RFP, because they need this kind of rich material to continue to provide the opportunities for students to grow in their proficiency. Again, that love of reading, engagement, and then that leads to proficiency. So local control in terms of selection around materials, that happens inside of each of our districts. We provide training though, and we ensure that we train up and we become familiar and dive deep into all of the curriculum that is out here. We allow and help. We partner with and help our districts in many ways, but we also have networks that we've created so that there's collaboration around the way in which we are continuing to grow and learn together. So we have a literacy initiative already in place. 35A is also in the school aid, section 35A, where literacy coaches have been in place for the last several years. The math proposal mirrors our literacy initiative that is in place statewide, that Wayne RISA is a leader in fact, how we have implemented the literacy. We call it COSA, Coach on Special Assignment. So our superintendent's elevated. We need a math COSA, which is absolutely true. And if you know the data, first of all, the state data, we are lagging in math. You all know that we need work in all of our areas, literacy, math, science, and social studies. But what I will share, and I want to leave you, not saying that I need to walk away right now, but I want to share with you that in Wayne County, just for the 2023 data, there are improvements in math, ELA, science, and social studies across all grades in Wayne County. So you have 75% of your LEAs, but if you add the LEAs and PSAs, you have 60 7% of our LEAs and PSAs. Grades 7 and 8, they were flat, but grades 3, 4, 5, 6, as well as in our 9, 10 with our PSAT and 11 with our SAT, you see the improvements in literacy. You see similar improvements in math. Again, we have not reached pre-pandemic levels in terms of our performance. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done. But we must celebrate those small wins and keep going in the right direction. We know what NAEP says. We know what that national data says. We know that NAEP started in 2003. The state of Michigan was ranked 28th. Then in 2015, we were ranked 41st. Then in 2017, we were ranked 35th. 19 and 22, we continue. First of all, 19, we were starting to make strides. 22, we're still recovering from the pandemic. So the reality is that we have a lot of work to do. This math model, not to move quickly from the literacy to the math, but the math COSA model, where we will provide that math coach on special assignment to each of the districts, is a model that will be used and put in front of the legislature. Wayne County will lead the charge because they've been talking about finding funds for this math model to be similar to the literacy $35A, but they just haven't done it. So Wayne County, if approved, showing that you have invested in this model, and then each of the districts, including Downriver, showing that we are definitely working and modeling how this will work and improve outcomes, we will lead and show the data in hopes of the legislature supporting this further. Unless you will continue to find funds and help me get funds after this year or after 2025. But the reality is that these are practices that work. They're called high leverage instructional practices, and we must lean into them if we want our children to thrive. And that's what we all expect.
Okay. You can continue to report it. If that's the end of it, I'll entertain questions.
I will share. I've kind of moved to
That's
share
fine.
the second and the third proposal. So those are all three proposals. And again, I can continue to answer any questions if needed. I would like to just close by saying that access, opportunity, equity, and excellence are key. And Wayne County leaning in and considering this shows that we will continue to advocate and ensure that zip codes do not create barriers for our children to thrive. This is huge for Wayne County. And I appreciate just the opportunity and look forward to our continuous partnership together.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I do have a few questions. Commissioner Dobb? You go first, we'll bring you back.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple questions. So how will outcomes on each of these three programs be measured and reported?
Okay, so outcomes, as we do everything, as I stated, the Math COSA initiative mirrors our literacy COSA initiative that we currently have implemented. And so we have a findings report on the literacy COSA. We have an assessment team that actually evaluates, and we also partner with models like Hanover. So we bring in third party where necessary to ensure that they assess what we have implemented. Our goal is continue to see student proficiency scores to increase. But it starts with the behaviors of the educators. I think you may have seen in the data that 37% of the teachers in Wayne County have less than 2 years on the job. So this allows for that ongoing job embedded training for teachers to also have that love of math and be able to teach math at the highest level and be able to ensure that teaching and learning translates into students being able to demonstrate that they understand the concepts, which will show up not only in these single kinds of assessments, because those are single data points, the M-STEP and or NAEP, but there are also growth assessments such as NWEA and or iReady that take place inside of districts. Take place 2 to 3 times each year. So we will be able to demonstrate progress on all of these initiatives, as well as students moving from I can't to I can with the math concepts. So all of those, there will be different data sets that we will pull from all of those different areas that I lifted to be able to show our progress.
Okay, so will there be some sort of report, maybe taking all of those different data sets from like the standardized tests and other testing types for these particular students that are enrolled in these programs to show their progress?
Absolutely.
There,
We will
okay.
definitely have a findings report on the Math COSA because remember, we're also taking this to the legislature to have this funded statewide.
Right, okay. And then will this be reported to us at Wayne County as well?
I can come anytime you want me.
Okay, all right, great.
I commit to that.
And we definitely, as the department, then would absolutely be
Yeah.
coming with updates and
Okay,
reports.
I'd like to see that. Is this a program that Wayne County can audit? Janelle, do you know, or does our fiscal department know? Or legal?
Through the chair to this honorable body, I believe, yes, that the audit language for our legislative auditor general is included in all of these contracts.
Okay, great.
So in the two before you today.
Okay, thank you. And can students qualify or participate in more than one of these or all three if they need to?
They are for all of the students enrolled in the Wayne County school districts. They would all be eligible.
Okay, great.
Correct.
So
So
they
this
can do
is
mental health and the
Correct.
math if they need
Correct.
both. Okay,
correct.
all right. That's all I had. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Clark Coleman.
I was just, well, thank you, first of all, for
Thank
being
you.
here and to provide us with such a comprehensive report. I do appreciate it. I'm sure that most of you know that education is my passion, having served on the Detroit School Board as a president in the past. However, and I was also happy to hear you say that you would be one of your focuses would be cultural relevancy. I think that's very important. Although this does not include Detroit, where I reside in my district, I just think that it's something that we need to all be aware of, and we all should be supportive of. So, thank you. Thank you very much. Good report.
Thank you. I would just like to add, no, these dollars do not include the city of Detroit, Detroit proper, and or the public school academies inside of Detroit. But I need you to know that I'm committed to access, opportunity, equity, and excellence. And with that being said, we have, as you know, Wayne Risa is a flow through. So I have already asked my team to ensure that they get the same supports from another funding source inside of the county where possible, because they would qualify based on some other dollars that other districts wouldn't qualify for those dollars. So I do want to add that I know that's not what this conversation is about, but these supports are important.
They are. I absolutely agree.
And so therefore, we are looking at other dollars to ensure that, again, each and every student in Wayne County has this opportunity, but the funding stream is still separate. And that's how we operate anyway, because every funding stream that comes through our door has a designated place. Every dollar doesn't go every place. And so they have to be eligible for. And so we do have some regional assistant grant dollars looking at, I even just shared what fund it is, to ensure that our public school academies and Detroit Public Schools Community District are represented to get the same services. They're just not part of this proposal.
I understand that.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Marecki?
Thank you, Chair. So you were saying that the COSA, you've used that for literacy.
The last couple years, absolutely.
Last couple years, okay. I was also on a school board years ago, and my kids range 12 years, 4 kids. And during that time, phonics weren't being taught, and phonics were being taught. So you like this program and the way it's teaching the kids. I mean, there's been so many experimental type things through the years.
So when you say program, so the literacy piece is actually just diverse text.
Okay.
So it's actually just diverse text.
Is that what COSA is?
Yeah, so the coach on special assignment is actually I'm the coach and I'm assisting and training up and onboarding and continuing to coach up and making sure that essential practices are being used to support the actual structure inside of the classroom. So it's really a coach. We just
Okay.
gave it a cute name, but it's a coach.
Okay. And so the coach is gonna
Yes,
do the
not
math.
really. There we go.
So depending on like what the district and what they teach as far as their curriculum, that coach is gonna be supporting their curriculum.
Absolutely, but we are clear. Essential practices, we have to have research-based essential practices.
Okay.
We can't be pie in the sky. Kids aren't experiments. So therefore, we must use research-based practices that absolutely yield outcomes that are proven to work with the children in which are in front of us. We can't say, well, it works with other children. It must work with the children that we're serving. So we must, that's why cultural relevance is key. All of these things are important, and everything doesn't work everywhere. That's why you have the autonomy to have local control, because we have to have what's best for the students in which we're serving at this time, not the students from 20 years ago. I know there's a phenomenal science educator at this table here that taught at Denby. See, I know some things. Somebody told me to tell him hi. I'm just not gonna say.
Suffered at the hands of school.
I'm not gonna say it on the mic. One of your students told me to tell you hello today.
No, I really appreciate that. And I appreciate the fact that of the high quality nonfiction and fiction. I mean, there's been so many, just observing my kids. Now they're 30 to 43. So this was a while ago. But pushing them to things that even though they may not be quite interested in, they may become interested. And the high level, the more you read, the higher level you go, the better you get, not just staying at your Nancy Drew level, which I'm really outdating myself when I was a kid, but to just keep pressing to higher text. So I really appreciate that component of this. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Baker McCormick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you so much for being here today. So I represent Retford Township. So I was wanting to know the mental health part of the program. The Wayne County Commission Youth Council sponsored a resolution that talked to mental health, and that was important to the young people. And so they asked for time during the day to actually go and see a mental health professional in school. So this is very, very timely. What does that time look like for the student? Is it just something that they would call and, ask their teacher, or would they have to call in advance? How does that work?
So it looks different in each and every, but I will say that what I have recognized and what continues to be the real answer is when it's needed, it's needed. And me making an appointment to see you 3 days from now, I need you now. So there are opportunities. That's why it's important that the mental health professionals are there on staff.
That's right.
Because if I need you now,
that's when they're needed.
that means right now.
And that's what they asked for. They wanted time during the day to just go and see someone. Okay, and so is there a grade level that mental health services are provided? I mean, like if there's a kindergarten,
I will be very honest with you. There are 4-year-olds in need of support. We are pushing universal pre-K, but remember, homes have looked different over the last couple years since 2020. So when you have 4-year-olds who are coming that are in need of supports, it's okay. You just have to have the services available. So there's not an age limit to support being needed. And when you intervene early, you save lives. And when you intervene appropriately, you save lives.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Haydos.
Thank you, Madam the Chair. I just really don't have a question. I just want to show off today RISA located in the city of Wayne in District 11. We appreciate your service to the communities in Wayne County. And I personally be glad to give you all the support based and your reputation and what you provide all the school system with in Wayne County. And I hope you continue to address very important issue that make a difference in our future with the kids, because they are the future of this county. And I'm glad to see my friend Janelle Allen working with you, and that you're in good hand.
I am a great
And I glad you try to help Commissioner Basham's district. I want him to know where the help coming from the city of Wayne. Well, I really am in a strong support for your project and what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Basham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In a different light, when I was a state rep for 3 terms and state senator for 2 4-year terms, I represented RISA, Romulus, part of Downriver, as we included them. But my question was, to get serious for a quick minute, Summit Academy you had mentioned earlier, and Summit Academy, as I understand it, it's a public charter school.
Yes.
So what can they do or not do that a regular public school can or not do? What's the difference?
They do it all. And so here's the reality. It's a public school.
Well,
It's a public school.
can they pray in Summit Academy?
No, they receive public funds.
So they can't pray. Okay.
I'm going to
all
say
right.
they receive public funds, but I will say this. I want to share this with you. Student groups can form, and the student group could decide that they want to have prayer, because that's what they've just been, and it's, if approved, they can do just that. That's a student formed, student led group. So I want to make sure that my no was based on public funds. Could I stand up and go to the podium as a superintendent Wayne Risa and start out in prayer? I'll just tell you, I'm a believing person. I might be doing it in my head and you didn't know. But the reality is that those public dollars are what they are. The reality, though, around the young people, they can form a religious group that can be approved. That means that they could pray.
So could that religious group pray for Commissioner Haydes? Thank you.
I could use all the prayer being your friend.
So, just follow up.
A quick follow-up, then Commissioner
Quick
Kleen.
follow-up. So the school that Commissioner Basham mentioned as a charter school, but it is created through the public school, right?
I'm not sure who their authorizer is. I'm 99. Who's their authorizer?
But it's chartered through the public school system, right?
No, I'm not sure who their authorizer. They could have an authorizer that could be CMU or, a college and or university.
Okay.
So, and I can't call it. I know my team could look it up real quick. But we can definitely find out who so there is an authorizer. And again, it could be a public school. So or it could be a university.
Right, because we, in Detroit Public School.
Correct.
We do charter
academies.
Correct.
Okay. Commissioner Kleen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this is an important point, but to my colleagues from Western Wayne and Downriver, RISA is in every district. RISA is in every district providing services. Ms. Allen, I guess I'd like to ask you on the reporting. You're going to get a report on this?
We will be getting, yes.
And have you discussed what the format of that report is and what the kind of information you're looking for?
We have the details in the actual contract.
Like, what are the goals here? We're going to try to hit these kind of numbers, or?
Yeah, we certainly do have, as you said, metrics.
Yeah.
That will be reported on, the metrics.
Yeah, because I would think, and I guess you could send it to us, but I would think through the department that's receiving these reports, that to me, that would be the discussion with the commission and to see, because as I'm sitting here looking, and somebody's already brought up my past. And forgive me, I will never accept charter schools as public, but I can't do anything about what the legislature did. But we have 32 districts Is that, public
We have
school?
33.
33 public school districts. And I see numbers like 150 to 200,000 students. I'm also looking at $13.5 million. And you start doing the math. And by the time you get down to an individual school, it's not like anybody's getting rich here. And so that's why I'm concerned about the reporting. What do we think the funding here is great. The more we can do, but we underfund public education in this country. So this 13 million is not going to bring everybody into literacy. It's not going to have everybody ready for calculus. Just because it's, so what are your expectations? I hear you hiring all these people. How are we actually going to reach 150 to 200,000 students with these, what I consider rather limited funds?
So, for example, the Math COSA, which would be at about $125,000 per individual, which would be salary and benefits. Again, that becomes the coach that then coaches the elementary teachers. And then that.
I'm sorry, just got to slow you down here a little bit. The coach would be for the entire county, and then they have people working with them?
No, there would be the coach in the district.
Yeah.
So
Well,
one
okay.
coach per district. For the
Okay, so
33.
then you got,
Well, not 33, because remember, one of our largest districts is not included.
yeah, that's why I went to 32.
Right. Okay. I'm
Right,
sorry. Okay.
Because I was in 33.
Okay. got it.
But see, I just even do that math, and the salary at 100 and whatever, and then you add in benefits and all that kind of stuff. So you're looking at maybe a $200,000 job from year. And then I multiply by 32 and I'm like, whoa, big chunk of the money just there. And that's what my concern is. I know you have to make sure everything is covered, right? But if we're having a couple of people hired in every single school, I'll wait for the reporting on this, where people are going to be and how we're going to, I'll wait for the reporting, because it's not enough. Whatever we can do will improve things. And RISA, which I love dearly. But I don't want to have expectations. See, I think this happens a lot. Money gets spent like this, right? Just like with the roads, we're spending more money on roads. But if it ain't the one in front of your house, then you think nobody's doing anything. There's just not enough money. So I want to be realistic in what we can accomplish here. In the spending, I would encourage you in that we don't try to, kind of for show, spread ourselves so thin that we're in every single classroom and how many charter schools are there in the county?
There are 98.
98. So now if are we going to put a coach in each one of those?
No, we cannot.
Okay, so I'll look for the reporting. Where's all these resources going to go? Hopefully the reporting also speaks to your goals for this and what we need to accomplish.
Absolutely. We will drill down. Right now, that's the way we have to report for all of the funds that we have.
Mhm.
We will ensure that it shows where every dime of it went, meaning
Yeah.
by district.
And to Ms. Allen, and then we will have a discussion and reporting through you.
Absolutely.
And if I may add to that, I think you do raise an excellent point. We clearly had that same concern that while 13 to 14 million sounds like a lot of money, when you
ain't.
talk about the number of students, it really isn't, which is also why RISA was the ideal partner, because they will be able to leverage other sources. As she said, if Dr. Colbert was even talking about having certain services in other districts that we're not funding, because they know how to utilize the funding, what are the restrictions and limitations. But also, as you're saying, is to be realistic, that we are not going to be able to change every child's life here.
Yeah.
And that we have to be very thoughtful about, but where can we have the biggest impact? And again, RISA being the experts in this arena, which is why we have chosen to just expand our partnership with them.
Yeah, because as you know, right, people go, wait a minute, we allocated money 4 years ago. How come you didn't solve all the problems? I ain't giving you any more, right? That kind of discussion.
Exactly.
And thank you for remembering the Denby Tars.
Thank you. And to that point about reporting, we're in November now, so we can anticipate our first report this time next year to talk about this current school year. Is that your thoughts for reporting?
We can do that.
Yes, absolutely.
And it'll reflect what has happened, I guess, the second semester of the school year. Okay, all right, thank you. Commissioner Clemente?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So you're talking my language. I'm a reading specialist by trade, and having literacy coaches in the school has made a big difference because the schools are taking these resources and they have coaches, and then that spreads out to other people, which are called interventionists, that spread to the children. So the math model will follow the literacy model.
Correct.
So in our packet, you said there's 46 coaches that there will be through the 33 schools. That is kind of a spread out. So intervention is kind of the model in the schools that the literacy coaches are teaching our teachers and our interventionists that the schools hire. So RISA has been, I've went to a lot of training there, and RISA has been great. So I just wanted to say that it's not just this one person, they're feeding out to trained people that are educators. So thank you.
Thank you. It is a multiplier model.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Sorry,
Go
can I
ahead,
just say one thing? I
Commissioner
just want to
Clemente.
think about the math because
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing I hear at our career technical schools is that our students cannot pass the math test. So workforce development, this math will be
Yes.
excellent. Thank you.
Yes, and let me thank you, Dr. Colbert and Ms. Allen for this, bringing this before us. I don't think it was initially part of our bucket system with the ARPA dollars, but knowing that there was a need, we did a pivot to include Wayne Risa because, of course, as was just stated, the math piece is so very important. Even if you go into the trades, you have to have that math proficiency that some of our young people don't have. So, thank you for having all three of those in addition to the tutoring, which in the meals, which of course the state is taking care of. But the mental health literacy and the math is going to be a game changer, I hope, for our young people. Not every child needs all of that, but those who do need it, it's great to have it available for them. So I don't see, I see one more hand, Commissioner Anderson.
Sorry, I had to step out, but for a minute, but I did want to just make it very short. I just wanted to thank you both for being here as the chair has done. It means a lot to us to get as much information as you provided to us and the explanation. I think it's a great thing. I'm glad to support it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So we have a motion by Commissioner Kinlock, supported by Commissioner Anderson. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you both.
Thank you. And if I may say for tomorrow, I don't think Dr. Colbert will be available and I'll have to participate virtually if that's okay. I know that because it still does need to go to the full board.
Thank you.
Is that
We
okay?
are trying to get all of our questions out today so that when we
Okay.
do the committee report, it should be smoothly.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
we are sharing Dr. Colbert's cards now.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You need me for a
Appreciate it.
question tomorrow. I will answer.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you so
again.
much.
Yes,
think-
we stop.
I think they're coming. Oh, yes, so that's the last one. You got more to go around the side of the table?
Okay, no, can we take a picture? Take a phone, take a picture. If
Well-
not, I'll send each commissioner my email,
Okay,
an email.
thank you.
Okay. I'll take care.
Next item, Madam Clerk.
We're on item number 4, requesting commission approval of the appointment of Mac D. McGee to the position of Director of the Juvenile Institutional Care Services Division of the Juvenile and Youth Services Department.
Okay, good. Are we still morning or afternoon? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Melissa Fernandez, Director of Juvenile and Youth Services. As this body is aware, we have the new Department of Juvenile and Youth Services that we are building and working on very, very hard on working on establishing a team. And so we're requesting approval of my appointment of Mr. Mac McGee to the position of Division Director of Institutional Care. This position will oversee the Juvenile Detention Center. It will also be responsible to play the role of the Chief Administrator over the license of the center. Mr. McGee is with us via Zoom. He's traveling to Detroit from South Carolina, so he will be with us tomorrow. Mr. McGee is very experienced and has over 20 years in juvenile justice. He's successfully transformed underperforming agent organizations in Washington, D.C., in New York, and South Carolina, and Chicago. We had over 80 applicants for this position and interviewed about 4 or 5 applicants. He holds a Master's of Arts in Political and Justice Science. And me, it was important to find a candidate that really was able to complement the new team as we move forward towards our journey of juvenile justice reform and meeting those task force recommendations. And so it was personal to me, and I'm confident that Mr. Mac McGee fits that challenge for Division Director of Institutional Care. As I said before, he is on Zoom today. You will get a chance to meet him in person tomorrow at the full board.
Okay, thank you so much. And before you step away from the table, let me just personally thank you for all of your hard work and dedication. I know you've kind of only been here for a year or so, but you jumped right into the fire pan and unknowingly. So I just want to let you know that I certainly appreciate all the hard work that you've put into juvenile detention facility and everything that you've done to 12 o'clock midnight calls, 3 a.m. calls, and going on site when need be. It's very much appreciated, all the dedication that you've put into working with us here at Wayne County. So thank you for that. Is Mr. McGee on? Is it McGee? Is he on the line?
Yes, I'm online. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. McGee. If you are going to be here on tomorrow in person, we will await tomorrow to have you come to the microphone to speak to us, if that's okay. But I do appreciate you being here today on Zoom. If you'd like to make just a minute or two introduction, you may do so. And then you will have the opportunity on tomorrow as well in person.
Okay. Well, yeah, thank you very much. I just want to say that it's definitely a privilege. I feel tremendously blessed. Throughout my career, I have had the opportunity to work around the country. And so I do believe I bring a unique perspective, and I'm looking forward to adding value to Wayne County. So I look forward to meeting all of you all tomorrow, and I'll be able to answer any questions that you may have related to my experience and what I plan to do once I get on the ground. So thank you guys very much.
Okay, and safe travels to you, sir. I do have a question for Commissioner Killeen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'll ask it in the room here for Ms. Fernandez. So this is a new position because it's a new department.
That is correct.
Then there's been a lot of discussion in the last, well, pick your time frame of the JDF. What is, and I'm sure you've discussed this all with Mr. McGee, and he's up to speed on issue. So what are your first priorities for this individual? What are your first priorities that we need to do over there?
Sure. So you are correct. We've had a lot of motion in the past year, and we are in a certainly different place today than we were a year ago. And I'd like to take some time in the near future to present, all the good things that are happening at JDF. Yes, I've spent a lot of time with Mr. McGee over the past couple of months, updating him on all of our challenges, all of our successes, and our plans moving forward. And so I actually have a schedule for him for the first 2 weeks and how, we will tackle the JDF concerns, but he certainly will have to get up to speed with licensing first and foremost, and where we are and our challenges and our corrective actions and what we need to move forward.
Okay. And hopefully one of these days, a 6-month to completion declaration will be broadcast across the county. Huh? Yeah. One of these days, maybe that's in 6 months, we'll get the 6-month deck. So the transitioning over to the new facility, and I won't get into the details here today, but I certainly would like to hear how that's going to change our staffing levels. A lot of the discussion here has been around the jail itself, that with different kind of surveillance and electronic, we won't need as many deputies, and that's been the discussion. I don't know, I haven't heard that discussion about JDF yeah, moving over there. So I would like to get an idea from the department when that move does happen, how does that change the staffing levels that you need?
Absolutely.
But best of luck, Mr. McGee. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And again, thank you, Mr. McGee, for being online with us today. Safe travels, and we look forward to meeting you on tomorrow.
All
Is
right,
there-
thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion for this item? Commissioner Kinlock moved. I'm sorry, I didn't look at my screen. Commissioner Baker McCormick supported. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, please vote. Everybody in favor, say aye. I'm used to that.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Next item, please.
We're moving to item number 5, requesting commission approval of amendment number 1 to a 1-year cooperative agreement addendum between the Charter County of Wayne and Complete Quality Installation Services doing business as Oneida Solutions Group through the My Deal with no change in the dollar amount, extending the term of the addendum to assist the county with moving to the CJC.
Okay, this is a CJC item that we're trying to get before us as quickly as possible. As stated, there's no change in the dollar amount, just the duration of time. So, Mr. Wagner, I'll let you take it from here.
Yes, through the chair, Aaron Wagner, Chief Administrative Officer. As we've pushed out substantial completion and turnover date, this contract, we've also extended that date to mirror these activities. We anticipate that this amendment or this extension will fall within when we will actually move to the facility. And so we're asking for the time-only extension at this point.
Okay, any questions on the extension of time on this contract? And the extension of time goes until September 30th, 2024. Right, good? Commissioner Anderson.
Yeah, apparently, I don't know if we have a better timeline. Do we have any update on that?
At this point, no, but as soon as we do, we'll be presented to the commission.
Okay, I see James back there, but I don't know. James, do you have anything to add?
Wagner's absolutely correct.
Okay.
Thank
So
you,
that's
Jay.
clear, right?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Is there a motion for item number 5? It's been moved by Commissioner Baidoon, supported by Commissioner Palmer. Again, any discussion? Oh, other way around. Now the screen is blank. Somebody moved and somebody supported it. Please vote. We lost connections. Oh, no, it's there. We're back. We're back on. Okay, we're back on.
Motion carries.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you all so much. Next item, please.
We're on item number 6, update on new Department of Public Services processes and procedures.
Okay, there's been obviously some movement and the issue with criminal activity that took place in DPS. So this is an update on any procedures or processes that were changed to prevent this from happening again.
Good afternoon, James Heath Corporation Counsel.
Is your mic on, Mr. Heath?
Sorry, James Heath Corporation Counsel.
Okay, thank you.
Aaron Wagner, Chief Administrative Officer.
Thank you.
Arthur Walker, Procurement Director, Management and Budget Department.
All right, thank you. Okay, go ahead.
So if we just by way of kind of laying out how we intend to kind of operate here today, we want to talk about several things, just give you all a refresher of what happened. I know it's been a while since we were in front of you on this matter. And Mr. Wagner is going to do that. B, let you know about some of the legal proceedings which have occurred since we were last with you and kind of where we stand on that. I'll be doing that. And then Mr. Walker, our procurement director, will talk about some of the debarment proceedings that are going to be upcoming with at least with two of our vendors.
Okay.
And so, Mr.
All right.
Wagner.
So on March 2nd, 2021, Wayne County Sheriff's Office received a tip of unusual activity from a supplier that was not a direct supplier to the county, but rather a manufacturer distributor to our county contracted suppliers. An investigation ensued, and it was determined that several county employees were colluding with outside suppliers to defraud the county of or purchasing generators that were not on those approved contracts, and falsifying invoices, falsifying records, not receiving the items on county property, but using county trucks and taking them through a third party, and then paying the invoices based off of what items were allowable within our purchase orders. This activity was not just the lead plaintiffs, Mr. Gunn and Mr. Gibson, but were with several other employees within DPS who are no longer employed by the county. And so it was Mr. Gunn would actually place those orders directly with the non-county vendor and then contact the suppliers that we had contracts with and instruct them to partake in this conspiracy. Then once invoices would come in, he would handle those invoices with the team of employees that were no longer employed by the county, but they would circumvent our system for the normal checks and balances that we have. And so subsequently, we would be billed for traffic safety items such as itinerators. There would be a significant markup on the generators that were purchased, and as the purchase order through or the approved purchase order would have that itinerator on there, former staff would falsify the receipt of those and send them on for processing. Again, I want to iterate that, this was a conspiracy both from employees within the county as well as active suppliers outside of the county. And so, they worked to actively override our checks and balances, which have been recognized as national standard procedures and processes through DPS specifically. Or the DPS processes and procedures have been nationally recognized, and we are certified as best in practice. The receipt in our inventory items are included in those policies and procedures. So I do want to say that it's this was a willful act to circumvent our systems. From that perspective, I want to talk about what I'm going to move to the procurement director as to what actions are going to be done against those vendors that did willfully act to defraud the county.
Thank you. So if we can get to that in a second. So thank you, Aaron. So as hopefully you all remember, the county received a tip about this information. It was through that tip that we contacted local and federal and state law enforcement, and they set up, I'll use a term of art, a sting, whereby they were able to arrest and federally indict two of our former employees, Mr. Gibson, Mr. Dunn. They were ultimately charged with several crimes, one federal program theft, money laundering, and wire fraud. And in the winter and summer of 2023, both of those gentlemen pled guilty to those charges. After we made the local authorities aware of what was going on, and after they had concluded some of their charging decisions, and it was safe for us to move into that space so as not to disrupt their ongoing investigation, at least the first part of it, that is when we brought that information forward to the commission. And true to what I told you we would do, we hired an outside law firm, Dickinson Wright, to do a number of things within the scope of finding out exactly what happened. Provide a thorough and methodical review of the actions of the parties involved in an effort to prepare a conclusive internal report of what occurred and a precise timeline of events. To conduct a comprehensive examination of department policies, procedures, and protocols to determine where they may have been breakdowns and to identify potential remedies. Determine the liability of the culpable parties to the fullest extent of the law, and to bring civil lawsuits against culpable parties in an effort to recover the county's damages. And so for purposes of our discussion here today, we're going to talk about two of the most culpable vendors who are going to be the target of civil litigation and are also the United States Attorney for the Eastern District is also looking at all of the remedies that her office has with respect to those vendors, as well as folks who may be associated with them. And so I want to kind of let you know where we are. We received in the last week or so, 10 days or so, the final draft of the report that we commissioned from Dickinson Wright. And so by the end of this week, you will be receiving a request from us to go into closed session with you all so that we can talk about what we believe to be the most appropriate options that we have. I will tell you that as we have always believed, that there will be a request from, there will be action taken by us, and we will ask your support for civil litigation against the culpable departments. What I can tell you is that we're talking about two, but there's a baker's dozen of folks, of vendors who, to a lesser extent, and I'll get into that when we're in a closed session, were involved, but not to the level of the two that Mr. Walker is going to be describing. I will tell you that immediately we stopped doing business with the two most culpable vendors. We knew from the very beginning that we weren't going to operate with them. To the extent that there were other vendors who provided important safety items to DPS and the county, we instituted a rigorous process whereby Corporation Counsel and Chief Administrative Officer Wagner would go through any request for purchases that needed to be made, and we made sure, A, that they were absolutely necessary and needed, and then we would go through all of those invoices and issues with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that they were, in fact, on the up and up. And that process has worked well, and so we've been confident and comfortable with the actions that we have taken so far. One of the most important things we want to do was ensure the public and ensure the commission, ensure everyone that the county is taking this matter extremely seriously. We have been in constant contact with the United States Attorney's Office and working through all of the options. The FBI has provided us with access to some information that would be helpful in us determining the breadth and scope of this. The number, almost 600, well over 500, almost 600 generators were the source, totaling upwards of, 1.7, $1.8 million. And so this was a large reaching scheme, as Aaron has pointed out, but one that we have gotten a hold of. And so in addition to the closed session request that you will receive, and I can be more forthcoming in that with our plan of action on this, you'll also be receiving a request to amend the legal services contract. So as you may recall, when I first talked about this in early 2023, we're going to be taking it in two parts. The first part was paying for the review and the procedural recommendations that we wanted the outside law firm to provide for us. Then, if we determined that litigation was going to be appropriate, then we would have to come back because obviously it takes more money to litigate a case than to write a report. And so we're also going to be submitting an amendment to the legal services contract for you at that time, and we can discuss kind of what's going to be happening with that in closed session as well. The county executive is in full support of the litigation plan that we will be presenting to you, and I hope that you will be as well. Regardless, and we are not in control of the process that the United States Attorney goes with. They're going to make their own determination on criminal charges with respect to anyone other than Gibson and Dunn. Our perspective has been very clear, and I want to make sure that I state we've been partnered with U.S. Attorney Dawn Isom, and we're very happy with how forthright she's been. But she's, as you say, Commissioner Basham, she's got a job to do in her lane, and we've got one to do in our lane. And so when those two can meet, we'll go forward. We've made a determination about the civil litigation and debarment, without respect to what may happen criminally. That's the stuff that the folks at this table and in this building can't control, and that's what we're going to go forward with. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Walker and talk a little bit about the debarment process. It's not an everyday thing that we do it, and so kind of a refresher on that process, and we can answer any questions about that, Mr. Walker.
So, after consultation with Corporation Counsel, I've decided to initiate debarment proceedings with Ideal Steel LLC and Lakeshore Sign and Supply. So if you're unfamiliar, our procurement ordinance authorizes me in my role to debar companies from doing business with the county for a period up to 3 years. Debarment is used infrequently, and it's only employed when there are serious contractual issues such as willful violations of contract terms, ethical breaches, or criminal activity. So for a historical perspective, the county last debarred a company in 2019. And I think before that, it might have been a decade prior. So this is something that's fairly rare. The debarment process involves several steps, including a notification of the companies, temporary suspension of their contractual activity, and notification of our intent to complete the debarment process. The companies do have due process, through our policy. They're allowed to present their case as to why we should not take these actions. They can also request hearings along the way. If they request hearings, I will preside as hearing officer and listen to their reasoning with an open mind. The entire debarment process can take anywhere from 2 to 4 months, depending on how the companies respond and if they want to initiate the hearing process. And the bottom line is this kind of activity is unacceptable in our contracting processes. So it is important for us to make a stand, to let the contracted community know that this is not how the county does business. So it's important for us to take this step.
One thing I want to add is that the other vendors who are involved, we're also going to be entering into discussions with them about how the county is made whole and how they respond to it. But that's going to be part of some of the negotiations and litigation. So we're not divulging their names right now. The two companies that Mr. Walker mentioned, they're going to be a matter of public record because we're sending out the debarment notification. But when we are able to speak in closed session, we'll be more forthcoming about the other vendors. I know you are interested in hearing about their role and the like, but the most egregious acts are ones that are being covered under the process Mr. Walker laid out.
Thank you for that information, gentlemen. Is there restitution involved in any of what you are doing or what the court has already laid out?
Without a doubt, and to the ends of the earth. And we will explain that to you in great detail.
Okay,
Yeah.
just want to make sure.
And what I will, one of the lawyers is going to hit me in the back of the head for saying too much. One of the reasons that we are going down this route, because the county has a very clear understanding of what we think needs to happen to make us whole. And we're going to push that to the furthest extent of the law.
Okay, great. Thank you. Commissioner Anderson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. going right down the line of what I was going to ask too, is restitution for the county. And since this case against those two individuals, the primary individuals, has that already been settled through the court system? Or is there anything left to do?
They've pleaded guilty. I don't have their docket in front of me, so I can get back with that information and have it to you when we appear in closed session, but they certainly have pled guilty to the criminal charges. And as I said, the U.S. Attorney's Office continues to review its options with respect to other actors who we believe as a county to be culpable.
Okay. So are we being able to be a part of that as far as the restitution side of it?
Yeah, so we've worked hand in hand with the U.S. Attorney and the FBI.
Okay.
I mean, there was a lot of effort, quite frankly, in determining, because you had, as Aaron indicated, you had employees and two of the vendors who Mr. Walker is going to be taking action against, who were actively lying and actively fabricating stuff. And so we had to have folks go in from the FBI, from the outside firm that we hired, and piece together exactly what the restitution amount should be. There were markups in the area of 15 to 50% on these generators. And when you've got, records being falsified, it's just difficult to come up with a number. And so that's part of the disagreement that we have with the folks on the other side, what we believe the county is really owed in this.
Wow. I appreciate the report. It's something that I know you couldn't really get into details too early. I mean, you couldn't do this, but I'm very interested in seeing that we get some kind of recovery. And as far as the disbarment of the companies involved, can we not permanently disbar them from doing business with the county? Or is there not a longer period of time other than just 3 years? Because to me, that's like a slap on the hand.
I believe 3 years is what's in our procurement ordinance.
Is
Yep,
that where it's
up to
at?
3 years, yes.
Maybe we ought to look at that, see if we can extend that, especially if it's over.
And even though they're not, I guess, debarred for 3 years, we don't have to issue them contracts, right? I mean, we determine whether or not, they get contracts or not. So that's just my 2 cents. into
Memories are
that.
short sometimes.
Yeah, we get a new
and
bunch,
that's,
yeah.
We
yeah.
have turnover
Mhm.
and I think there ought to be something stronger that we could do. And the procurement ordinance requires it, then maybe we ought to look at that.
And the procurement ordinance is ours. So, yes, so we can always make those amendments as
Great.
well.
All right, thank you. Thanks again.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Through the chair, I did want to point out too, that not only would a debarment with Wayne County preclude the supplier from doing business with us, but also to any other governmental agency. It is common practice for procurement agencies to request, are you debarred from any other municipality? And in almost every instance, if not every instance, they would not then be eligible to do business with that other municipality as well.
To that point, Commissioner Baker, I'm sorry, Anderson, then.
One last thing, I
Just
just
to-
wanted to say, it seems as though we need to have some state legislation or something that would have a clearinghouse or something for these people that are doing these things, because they go on to the next community and do the same thing again. If they can get them, to buy someone to buy the product from them, that they can mark up and basically rip off the taxpayers. But anyway, if there is anything, let us know. We'd like to be a partner in that. Thank you.
To that point, Commissioner Baker McCormick.
Yes, I just wanted to clarify, does that also debar the person? Like, because you can change your business name and, get another contract under another name. So we may need to look at addressing the person, not just the business.
So Mr. Walker, when he's reviewing contracts and the like, would look at officers, directors and the like of any companies who have been
Okay.
debarred. I mean, different municipalities, different communities have their own questions and the like, but
Is that
it's-
that's one of our questions then?
Yeah, and
debarment of that individual.
and debarment is worded to encompass the company, the officers, the owners. So we try to make sure we catch everybody involved, so we don't do business with them.
Thank
Okay,
you.
And our council has a comment.
Through the chair, to that point, the procurement ordinance currently provides for debarment of the business, but it also states any other business which substantially has the same principal beneficiaries.
Great.
So I
It-
think.
And through the chair, when we debarred BT Towing, Boulevard and Trumbull Towing in 2019, not only did we debar BT Towing, but all of the listed officers were named as well on that debarment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Marecki?
Thank you, Madam Chair. But so it's up to 3 years, but are you saying like in 3 years, if they come back with seriously look at them after 3 years, after what they've done?
We always have the right to look at past history in terms of whether vendors are responsible. I think it's something that we can consider. I think we just have to be very careful about permanent debarment. If the ordinance is written for a 3-year period of time, I think that's something we need to, consider and not necessarily blanketly bar somebody.
Okay.
And I wouldn't want Mr. Walker to be able to, be accused of, extending a debarment, because it's very likely he's gonna sit as the hearing officer for this, but, certainly we can debar for as long as we want, as long as it's not more than 3 years.
And I will remind commissioners that the procurement ordinance is a document of this body, and if we need to make amendments to that, we can do that.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Baker McCormick, she had her hand up, she left. Okay, any additional questions to the gentleman on this issue?
Just a simple question.
I think she put her hand down. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Commissioner Haders.
Same to me, it's a big operation. It's more people still.
Commissioner,
internally
speak in the
adapt-
mic for
There's
us.
still some people involved internally more than those two.
So you're right. This could not have happened just with those two. There have been some internal personnel changes within the division and the department that give us confidence that the rot has been taken out. And some of the policies that we will talk about as we move forward and share with you the report that we have will put you at ease that we are better safeguarded against something like this in the future.
Because when we purchase any material or any product, there's some people sign, we receive it. Is those people responsible too for say we received this and didn't come in when?
Yeah, so I mean, when we talk about, I hesitate to, I don't want to, in an open public issue, disparage folks.
Yeah.
But what I will tell you is that there were more hands on this than just the two individuals that ended up being criminally charged. And the policies that we will be putting into play, that some of which have already been put in place and what we are going to be making changes in the future will certainly toughen our resistance to the bad acts. This was a people problem, who just, and so, I look forward to the opportunity to kind of talk with you about, where that breakdown occurred and how we can improve it.
My concern is we don't need to leave any one of those bad employee in the system. Because it takes more than two to do something like that.
You and I are of the same mind.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Commissioner Anderson.
One last thing I think I failed to do is to thank you all for what you're doing and thank the officers that were involved, our sheriff's department and for discovering this and bringing that forth. And I want to, but just to imagine what you did for the county, the citizens and the taxpayers of this county and this commission too. We want to thank you all.
Thank you. And I also want to congratulate and thank the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office, Kim Worthy. She was involved in this as well. And so this was really a all hands on deck, executive side, prosecutor, the commission, your continued support. And so thank you very much.
No, thank you. Many commissioners wanted an update, but I know we had to wait till we got to a certain point past the criminal case. And then once the report came out, which it just recently came out, as you stated. So thank you for being available to discuss with us what you can discuss. And then we look forward to another discussion as we move forward, because I know there's some more information when deemed appropriate that you would like to come back with us as well. But thank you for doing that. Commissioner Baydun?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to echo what Commissioner Anderson says. Thank you, all who are involved during the investigation process. The Wayne County Sheriff initiated the investigation. Kudos to them and to Kim Worthy and the administration. And you have our full support. There's no room for corruption in Wayne County government, and you have our support. Thank you.
Okay, all right, very good. Well, again, it was important to get this information before this body after many, many months. I'm glad we're to this point where you can discuss it a little bit more freely than you were able to before. And we continue to get more information as we move forward with this. So thank you all so much. We look forward to another day of getting another update. All right, thank you so much. Okay, next item.
We're moving to item number 7, update on the Henry Ruff Building.
Okay. Last but not least.
Right next to me.
Stretch.
Good afternoon. I was about to say good morning. Good afternoon.
Get something to eat. Get a sandwich.
Through the chair, if I may.
Yes.
Before we get started, I sincerely appreciate the commissioners giving a shout out to the Wayne County Sheriff's Office, but that was very near and dear to me because I was we initiated the first search warrant and I was there along with the captain and the lieutenant, and our guys did a phenomenal job and we turned it over to the feds. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Thank you. All right, Henry Ruff, name and title for the record, please.
All right. Good afternoon. Greg Hurst, Director for Facilities Management and Planning for the county.
Aaron Wagner, Chief Administrative Officer.
Mike Schaefer, Under Sheriff, Wayne County.
All right.
All right. So I have my team with me today to help me give the update here. So a couple of things I want to do. I want to take the time to give an update, but I think in order to do my due diligence there, I should do it in 2 parts. So the first part will be the update on the Henry Ruff Road building, but then also what the future plans are and where we are today.
Okay.
So of course, as the commission knows, and I've been here for a couple of months, and a part of my role and new position is to also not just do the facilities management piece, but also take care of real estate and planning for the county. I'm happy to say that we are actually filling some positions that are missing to date on that side for the planning, because there is a vision there. But until we get those, of course, I have an internal vision for the department, and I want to address that this afternoon. So I came from Detroit Public Schools Community District from the facility side, which I was in charge of real estate, capital planning, budgets, all of the above. And one of the things that I learned really fast in that role is that you need to take your time to do your due diligence in order to do things correctly. One of my first assignments was to figure out how to disperse or distribute $25 million across 106 buildings when there was almost $1 billion need. And so, how do you do that where it's somewhat equitable, if you can even use that word, but then also strategically? And what I learned was is to take a step back and look at where we're at today and where we need to go. So I say that just to kind of tee up where we're at, and I want to give a quick background on where the Henry Ruff building is. So coming into the position, it's my understanding that there was a high level facilities study internally that was done that estimated the building had about $3.3 million worth of needs in order to bring that back to what I'm assuming is a decent or good operating standard, if you will. And so at the time, the county looked at that and said, hey, should we focus on is there a return on investment here? And should we look at some, a different space? And so I'll stop there and stay with Henry Ruff. So one of the recommendations that was made was it may be that the value is in the land. So there was a potential recommendation for demolishing the building. And there are a couple other recommendations. Well, that was one of the major recommendations. And the other one was, well, do we sell it as is? And so I started off by saying that was a high level study. What I would like to do is a detailed study. And the difference between that is the report that I saw listed your roofing, your major components, your roofing, HVAC system, and there's large dollar amount. What the report didn't do on a detailed level is literally walk me through what the interior and exterior envelope of that building looks like, so that I can really determine what the return on investment would be to give a recommendation if we should demolish, if we should put it out, maybe an RFP or list it for sale. So there are several questions that weren't answered just yet. And so I hesitated to put a recommendation as to what we should do next with that building outside of commissioning or I shouldn't say commissioning, but outside of getting a full understanding of where we're at. And what that means is I want to do a full facilities condition index that is going to give me a report that shows me all of the mechanical systems, electrical, everything down to the doors. If my mortar is good with tuck pointing, and if my windows are sealed properly, if I need to replace those. Also, that would include recommendation as to what we should do with that building moving forward. Additionally, I would like to do a highest and best use for the building. What that'll do is that'll tell us, well, what does the community need? That'll also tell us what's the true value of the property. So there are multiple steps that I want to take before I make the recommendation to this committee as to what we do with that building. So I wanted to first give an update there.
I'm sorry, and just to interrupt you. So that needs to be done still. So you're in the process of doing that in-depth analysis right now.
Correct.
And you suspect that will be done?
My goal is to have that completed by the end of the year, at least the assessment back to me. Mm-hmm. Then what I will do is I'll have further conversations, of course, once I receive that report, with the company that's going to do it for us, do my due diligence there. And then based on their report, we may do a highest and best use, depending on what that report says. So there are a couple of steps I want to do first, but the first step is to get that facilities condition index and that report and go through it and see what it tells me.
Okay.
So before I move to the Middlebelt property, are there questions concerning the Henry Ruff facility as it exists today?
Okay, questions? Commissioner Basham, the Commissioner Badon.
Yeah, thank you. Many years ago, Wayne County the leadership in Wayne County looked at the entire Wayne County division and determined when they used to have hospitals, they built a hospital at Henry Ruff and Michigan Avenue because it was in the center of the county, not in my district, but the center of the county. Then they built a, Henry Ruff Sheriff's Office, which actually for a while it was used by the clerk also. And so we have a history, and that is in the center. And so I've been very interested in this for a long time. There's a rumor out there that the sheriff wants to build another facility, and none of it's come in front of the commission. Now, individually, I have no juice at all. If 8 of us get together, we can run the county. Simple as that. So nothing's come in front of us about the building out in Livonia, which is actually over 50 miles from my house, over 50 miles away. I'm in Wayne County. So we say we can't hire sheriff's employees now. Well, if you build a sheriff's office out there and have the clerk out there, you darn sure better build one downriver. Because we're not centrally, we're part of the county also. So why would you want to do that? Why wouldn't you, in evaluating this property at Henry Ruff, why wouldn't you want to look at those things also? But also, whose responsibility is if you had a home and never fixed your roof, never fixed your windows or doors, let the bathroom sinks fall off the thing and fall on the floor. If you had lights that were 50, 60 years old, whose responsibility is that to maintain that building? And it's the county. It's not some contractor, some real estate firm. It's the county's responsibility. And the thing of it is, it's our property, it's our responsibility. The property out in Livonia, that I know there's been some discussion about, does not have a range. What would that cost you? Plus, you're going to have to build another property downriver, because we're going to go crazy if you just build something out there and think that everybody's going to drive 50 some miles to go to the clerk's office or the sheriff's office to get a CPL or to get a marriage license. So, and I know firsthand that there's been work orders from the people that work in the sheriff's department, and I thought it went to the administration, but actually the work orders went to the sheriff's department, and they turned down their own work orders. I couldn't believe that. And so, because I chair a meeting on buildings, and because I have an interest in things like that, and it's like, why would you turn down your own work orders? Why haven't you maintained your buildings? Why do you let the sinks fall off the walls and down on the floor? And why haven't you upgraded your plumbing and your electrical? Why haven't you? And why? It's in the center of the county. And the thing of it is, I have an obligation to work for all of Wayne County, and I have an obligation to work for, what's best for the county. And again, I am a strong advocate of, we own a property, we have a gun range, let's put the roof on it first, let's fix the doors and windows, okay? And then let's start going from there. Currently, we have a trailer that you got sheriff's office working outside in that location, working in a trailer. Why should they have to work in a trailer? That's like a Marine patrol. And I'm not trying to kill a messenger here. I'm not trying to kill a messenger. But in a Marine patrol, you had raccoons crawling up through the floor. It's like, why? You had to walk on pallets to get to the boat. Why aren't we maintaining our own property? And who do you look at? And I don't want to, again, kill a messenger, but the thing of it is, we've got a bad history here as Wayne County, and we need to maintain our property. If that was your house, you'd put a roof on it first, then fix the doors and windows, and then upgrade the plumbing, maybe fix some electric. And again, that location is close to the parks, Henry Ruff. It's close to the freeway. It's central to the county. And yeah, you can find things about how bad it is. It's horrible, but the structure is sound. And I come out of skilled trades and I can appreciate some of that, but it's like, why didn't we maintain that? I'm not going to point the finger at just the sheriff. I'll point the finger at the commission. I'll point the finger at the exec. I'll point the finger at everybody. Why do we let that go so long before now we're saying, oh, it's too bad, we're going to move forward? And why do you want this controversy that you're going to get if you try to move that?
Undershare?
Through the chair, thank you. I want to reply to the honorable commissioner from downriver. First and foremost, I know of no work order that's ever been turned down, and building maintenance is responsible. I'm telling you, I don't personally. But what you need to understand from my point of view, as an individual that has an office in that building, I can't go in that building.
I agree.
But I just for the record, I forced myself to go in that building. I've been part of this agency since 2009. And when I walked into that building in 2009, in my opinion, that building should have been condemned. Right. Just for the record, right. I work there. So I want to make that very clear to you. Now, in relation to the actual building itself and maintaining all the buildings and so forth, that's really not our area. But what I will say is mold is a major issue. My body personally reacts to mold. That's the one allergy that my body cannot tolerate. And your body speaks to you, it speaks to you. I walk in that building for 5 minutes and I got to get the heck out of there. I get bloodshot red. And this is true, like this is me as a person. So with that being said, I got that out of the way, Commissioner. The sheriff's office looking at a building that is suggested by the CEO's office, who's done a phenomenal job on looking at buildings across the county. That building, we are the individuals that are going to view the building to see if it works for us as a sheriff's office. That's how that came about. We weren't the ones that actually found the building, but as it came up and we did a tour of that building, it is an absolutely perfect fit for the sheriff's office, specifically now, which we can get into with some of the things that's happened to the building, since that will assist this county in possibly putting a gun range in that building, but I might be getting ahead of myself. Thank you.
There is a work order that was turned down by Wayne County Sheriffs, from Wayne County Sheriffs.
Let me go to Commissioner Hados, please.
Oh, thank you. Madam
I
Chair.
don't know about this.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for explaining is the thing you don't have. You in the process of study, the mechanical, the value of the land, the value of the building. You're doing the right thing as a look into the condition of the building, as the undersheriff mentioned. I see those things before, and one of them, the parking lot, was disaster. In fact, it's still not fit to be good for the public and the sheriff department. I have no argument about the building. It's not fit to be building for the sheriff department. You mentioned all those things, and one thing it's not been mentioned, and Mr. Jaffer, the undersheriff, correct me if I'm wrong, because you, the one, advise us where the sheriff service is most needed through your experience. The location of Henry Ruff, to me, as a person, as a commissioner, as a resident of the area, it's a perfect and excellent location in Wayne County. Why? First of all, we have the two airports, the Evan and McNamara, in fact, 3 airports, and the Wooler Run, within few minutes for the sheriff to get there. It's near the major highway where the 275 connect all the major highway together. 75, 96, 94, 696 connected by the in Michigan Avenue corridor. To me, it's a perfect location. Now, I'm not against move to a location healthier, because the undersheriff mentioned the mold, it's health issue. We have to be concerned about the health and the well-being of the officer who are going to work in that building. But my long-term vision, it's the county should demolish that building. It's beyond repair with mold and all that stuff, and build a facility that add to it a few satellite for Wayne County as the clerk's office, the treasurer's office. It's a long-term vision because the location, it's so perfect. You can't deny that. As Commissioner Basham mentioned, it's you moving way further from downriver. You're moving further away from the west side of the county. So I don't mind for temporary relocation for the health of the officer and the people who work in it, but the long-term vision, I think Western Wayne County deserve to have a brand new building. And the cost, everybody mention, while the cost is too much, you know what? I've been in the local government for 30 years. I felt we always spend the dollar to serve the public and serve them in the best way we can. My job is to provide and support everything that serves the communities, not be fiscally responsible, but I never see any local government have a saving account to build a big wealth. We always provide services with the money. I think if you pay attention, please, to that location, and we need to build a state-of-the-art public safety building with addition to 2 wings for these services for Wayne County. It's my opinion, and I hope we see that happen in the future.
Thank
A lot
you,
of people
Commissioner.
told me you're good at dreaming, but you know, you dream and you dare to achieve.
Yeah, yeah.
Huh?
I love that opinion.
We appreciate that, Commissioner. Good perspective. Thank you for that. I'm going to ask one more question and then we're going to ask our guest to respond. Commissioner Baydun.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So for this discussion, I'm really gonna put my real estate hat on. And I'm really gonna be asking these questions, again, from my perspective as a real estate broker first. Because anytime you look at a project or any property, potential demolition or redevelopment, you look at the bottom line and what the project is gonna cost. So my first question would be, do we have an appraisal on the Henry Ruff property? As a piece of land, obviously the building is worthless. No doubt, we all agree that it has to be demolished. It's probably beyond repair. Am I correct? No?
I would, through the chair, I would respectfully disagree with my buddy here. It is absolutely beyond repair, and I'm not an expert,
Okay.
but I understand, I'm very well versed in construction and building.
So anytime you're dealing with mold and I'm sure there's asbestos in that building as well, because it was probably built in the 40s or 50s, maybe. You probably have asbestos tiles somewhere, maybe in the drywall, I'm not sure. But anyway, I would be really interested to know what the value is of the property and how much it's gonna cost if we were to, if I'm gonna go with Commissioner Basham's argument that it doesn't have to be demolished, how much it's gonna cost to rebuild this property, to remodel the existing structure and bring it back to life, okay? And I'm also interested to find out, obviously the location is ideal. We all agree that this is centrally located. We all agree on that. But if we were to walk away from this property and pursue another option, how do we address the residents of Downriver? Do we find another property for the residents of Downriver to address their safety concerns and to be near the Downriver in terms of location? And how does that affect us in terms of the bottom line? Maybe the property that we purchased might be a good price where we are in a luxury position to afford to buy another location and address the concerns of Commissioner Basham and Downriver. So these are all questions. I think we're on a fact-finding mission, in my opinion. I need to know more about the new location. Obviously, I'm going to wait to hear from you. But based on what I see, I disagree with Commissioner Basham. That building needs to be demolished. You know, again, being in the real estate business for so many years, it's probably beyond repair. He could disagree with me, and I respect him for that. So I'll wait to hear from you on the other possible location, because I know nothing about the other location.
Okay, so I hope you took down all those questions.
I
Because we
did.
have one more two more from Commissioner Anderson, the Commissioner Dobb.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, as somebody that sells real estate myself, not commercial real estate, but there's also another saying about location. And this location cannot be duplicated by the property that's on Middle Belt Road. I actually went through the property on Middle Belt Road. recently. There was a work crew working on the building right next door that is part of that property also. And they were having issues with the one building to the south, and there's issues with this building, nothing that couldn't be repaired or remodeled. But as I said, location is extremely important for the officers to be able to have a centrally located facility to be able to access, as has been mentioned about the airport, quick access to the airport. There's also a very needy community in Inkster that is a very needy community. The county, I believe, the sheriff's department provides a lot of assistance, I believe, to the law enforcement, minimal law enforcement in Inkster. And I know they were trying to get some additional supplemental help. But I don't think it's been formalized yet. But that is a very needy community. Another thing is if we were to buy the property on Middle Belt Road, I think we're only 8 miles from the county line. Because we're closer to Oakland County than we are to the majority of Wayne County if we were to move that far north. And I think it really creates a logistical issue to do that. And I totally agree the building is inadequate that's down there. Best thing to do would be to raise that building and build a brand new building there. And I, for one, would totally support that. And one that would accommodate the clerk's office, and as well as the prosecutor's office or whoever else we chose to put in there. The county chose to better utilize that building. That, to me, would be the best option. And I appreciate the support from those on the commission for that, because, like I said, if that other building was sitting, a couple of miles from the Henry Ruff location, then yeah, we should consider that. And if we could find another building close by, but Henry Ruff location is the issue there. And I like I said, I do believe that we definitely need to take some action on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Dodd?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll keep my comments quick because I think most commissioners have already said things that I want to say, but I just want to put these out into the air. But I do want to say that I believe the Henry Ruff location is the ideal location for our sheriff's satellite office. And I would like the study or us to look at if we are looking at opening a location in Livonia, how are we going to provide the services to the residents in that downriver area? Could we possibly do both 2 satellite offices? Because I don't think it's about really the bottom line here or what's going to cost the least. This is about providing services to our residents. So we need to make sure that we're doing the best job possible. So looking forward to, the results of the detailed study and going to make our decisions based on those data points. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
A lot of information, so you all may respond.
Okay. So if I may, and excuse me, I was writing while you were talking so I could take notes so I could provide adequate feedback. The location is, I have that noted several times. So a couple things. Value. I want to know what the value is as well. Again, I mentioned that we have what I saw was a high level, and I didn't see the detail behind it. So to your point, I did not see an appraisal. So I don't truly know where the value lies. So I do need to find that out. That's going to be coupled with the facilities condition index study. So I need all of that to be able to say, just start breaking things down so that I can provide the feedback to the questions that, of course, we're asking today. Another thing, I want to preventative maintenance. Absolutely right. Again, I came from the school district. The average age of a building was 60 years. you cannot continue with the infrastructure you have if you don't take care of it. Right. So one of the things that I'm putting in place under my leadership is a preventative maintenance plan. I don't like being a firefighter. No not against any firefighters, but you know what that means, right? That is reactive versus proactive. I prefer to be proactive and know what's ahead of me so that I can stay in front of it, create processes and procedures to deal with it and move forward. So I wanted to, preventative maintenance is key. To location, I'm hearing that, yes, that is prime. Understood. I think once we start figuring out, looking at the land, the value, and what the opportunities are, then we can start having the broader discussions as to what do we do with that and what makes the most sense for the county. Because again, this is still within our portfolio. And the good thing is all of this still, resides under my department, the preventive maintenance, the upkeep of buildings, but also, and importantly, the planning of what does our future look like with the buildings that we have. Another point that I wanted to discuss, the question was, why has this not been brought in front of the commission? And this is going to be a couple, there are a couple responses to that. So we found out recently that building underwent water damage. So on the second, it's a 2-story building. On the second floor, centrally located within the building, there was a water fountain that unfortunately was left running. And then, of course, this building is unoccupied. So what that did was there's a lot of water damage on the first floor. And again, it was centrally located, so water finds a way and it moved throughout the building. That was a question we asked to the owner. So the other thing that did was it happened over the summer. So now we have mold. So there needs to be remediation. So another point, and so keep this in mind, this is actually an opportunity. And Under Sheriff Jafar will kind of go over his vision with that. But the reason it's an opportunity is when we just walked the building a couple of weeks ago, the whole floor is gutted to the studs. So of course, complete remediation is going to happen. But if you can imagine, the county was going to do some type of renovation. Well, at this point, half of that is already taken care of because the demolition is done. So in speaking with the owner, what the owner is willing to do is to partner with the county so that we can sit down and work with the architects and start developing what that design looks like before it gets put back together. So there's an opportunity there to be a potential cost savings that we didn't anticipate because of this unfortunate accident. But what that is done and why I have not put that in front of the commission just yet is within the purchase agreement. There's a clause for a 60-day due diligence. And what I want to do is to protect the county. And the way that due diligence works is we get 60 days after the commission approves the purchase agreement, so the terms and everything for the sale. What I didn't want to happen was while this building is under renovation for the next 5, 6, 7 months for the county to have that due diligence period expire. And we haven't had inspections yet. This building is not put back together. So where we're at today is it was actually pulled from going in front of the commission. It was going to hit your inbox shortly. Is I pulled it back to have Corp Counsel take a look at this to make sure that we put in language that protects the county, but also puts in language that speaks to the collaboration efforts that are going to happen between the owner, the insurance company, and the county to put this building back together on our behalf. And the only way the owner is willing to move forward with that is to have this building under contract with the county so that he knows he's not going to lose out on that investment. So we're taking a step back again. I'm a strategic planner and problem solver. That's where I stake my claim. And so for me to be able to come in front of this commission and say, this is my recommendation, and before that to the county executive, I want to make sure all of my due diligence is done as well.
So
go ahead.
To the chair, we're talking about the Henry Ruff that
No, this is the
this
middle belt.
I've switched
This is
over
the
to the
middle
middle
belt.
belt. I'm sorry.
Middle belt?
Yeah.
This is the middle
The
belt.
middle belt building.
Because I was in there and I didn't see any water damage, but that must have just recently happened.
This is most recently. And after I can show you a couple photos, it is completely gutted on the first floor.
I know there was a homeless person living in the building when I was there.
So
And,
there,
and the owner, or I think it was the owner of the building that I was with that took me in. And he showed me where he shaved and everything in there in the building.
Will.
So I think he'd probably agree. Let's go to Henry Ruff too.
Yeah, so we'll definitely compare notes, Commissioner Anderson, about that after the meeting. Another thing I did want to address, the range. It's due to this gutting, if you will, of the first and most of the second floor. Now we actually have an opportunity to look at this building and potentially look at developing plans for a gun range within the facility. So previously it was all office space, but now when we're looking at the footprint and the floor plan and the way it's open, and I'll let Under Sheriff Jafar talk about this in greater detail. After the walkthrough a couple of weeks ago, we noticed that there's a lot of open spaces. Well, there's two large open areas that give us an opportunity, and we have not spoken to architects yet. So we will definitely do that, and we're looking for the best way and time to approach that. But there is the potential just from seeing the open space of some opportunity. So I'll turn it over to Under Sheriff.
Under Sheriff Schaefer.
Through the chair, thank you, ma'am. So I'll start with, if I was a betting man, there's no mold in that building, because I walked into that building to see how I react. And again, my body reacts to mold. So I'll get that cleared, because I saw some of the facial reactions on the table when they mentioned that. That's number one. Number two, there is a major opportunity here based on our tour with the individuals, including my SWAT commander, SRT, Captain Bates, who is intimately involved in gun training and call outs to emergency services across this county. There is a beautiful opportunity right now as it's gutted for a gun range. And the gun range right now in the sheriff's office is a major issue. We just started with the airport. Unfortunately, the airport is not allowing our reserve officers to qualify, which is a major issue. So we're working on getting just a private range until we figure this out. I'd like to address some of the concerns from the multiple commissioners in relation to location. I don't disagree with Henry Ruff being a great location, but we do need something now. We're in trailers right now, and we don't have a gun range. That's number one. Number two, Commissioner Anderson did mention that we do assist Inkster along same as we assist multiple other agencies, and you are correct. That it will have no bearing on our location, because the way we send out our troops, just like any other detail, Commissioner Chair, you've been to our scout program, you rode with us along with other commissioners. We have a pre-plan on where we're going and how we're going. So unless it's an emergency response, we may have an emergency response on the most east side of Detroit. It's quite a ways, but we love the location based on the freeway system. We are literally right off the freeway. We are minutes away from Detroit. We are minutes away from the suburbs, north, south, east, and west. There is an opportunity for this body to build a new building, which we would absolutely love. But right now, we're talking about the present moment. Right now, the sheriff's office is in dire need of a road patrol that works for the sheriff's office. And I think that's the part that we need to understand. The other part of the equation is, it's not a secret that every police agency in Wayne County has a police every city, municipality in the county has a police agency, and we are secondary responders. Now, they all ask for our help. Just about every one of them asks for our assistance. Unfortunately, we can't give them what we'd like to give them. Hopefully with this new contract, we will, because we're going to start hiring a lot more folks. But with that being said, Commissioner Dobb, you mentioned that part of it. So, Canton Township has a phenomenal police force, and we work hand in hand together. They depend on our office, when you guys have festivals and so forth. It's normally pre-planned. But in law enforcement, where do we all come together in an emergency situation? And it becomes a mutual aid situation. Detroit, Hamtramck, Northville, Allen Park, it don't matter where you are. If there's an emergency situation, we have a plan to assist each other. Just keep in mind that we are we don't answer the 911 calls. And with that being said, for us, being at Henry Ruff is irrelevant to Assistant Inkster. We're going to assist them anyway.
Okay, we got a few more questions. I'm sorry, we have a list.
To that point. I
To that
just-
point about Inkster?
Yes.
Okay, to the point about Inkster only?
Well, the gun range, the gun.
Oh, the gun range, the
yeah,
gun range point. Okay, to the
issue.
point on the gun range.
Westland has as you all probably know, Westland has a shooting range, a gun range, yeah. And I'm sure if it was for the auxiliaries that they would probably, I'm sure they got to make sure they maintain the time slots for their own officers for qualifying in that. But last thing I heard, there had not been any outreach to local communities that have gun ranges in their police departments. If there's a problem with the airport that we just approved the extension of that contract, I believe. But we should reach out to some of those local police departments to see if they would make accommodations for those. And just something else to keep in mind, the Middle Belt Road location has a subdivision right behind it, directly behind it. And unless you completely isolate the increased traffic, the increased noise, that you're going to have a lot of people in the neighborhood, they're going to be really upset. They already deal with the sound from the freeway. There's a lot of freeway traffic there. And I know it's
Are we to the gun range?
down into the ground. It's not street level so much. But I think that's going to just asking for another problem. if
Talking about the
we
gun
put a
range?
Gun range, yeah,
Oh, with the gun range.
yeah, the gun
Well,
range.
but you know, the technology today, they do a pretty good job of keeping that sound in the building
Yeah.
with today's technology and gun ranges.
Yeah, well, that may be true, but I'm just saying it could be an issue too.
All right, 6 speakers,
you.
Commissioner Clark Coleman?
I just want to that
Wait,
point,
wait,
I
wait,
just wanted to clarify if you've reached out to any of the municipalities to assist with the gun range or to,
So we've
Yeah.
reached out to the airport police and we are, thank the good Lord, we got a contract with them. So our officers that are UMCO certified keep their certification. We're in the process of possibly going through a private range right now. Unfortunately, and I don't know this to be true for all agencies. It's not management. It's lower level officers that are not crazy about having reserve officers, right? So they'll, that might be an issue. I don't know. I can't even speak to that. I was shocked to see that airport police were not allowing our reserve officers to qualify. I was really shocked, but I can't answer that.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Clark Coleman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So let me make sure that I understand what's going on here. Number one, you got a building that's in such disrepair until most folks agree that you can't fix it. That needs to be torn down. That's the first thing, right?
Correct.
So how much time does it take to build a new building?
Great question, ma'am.
So to design and build a new building, but then also go through procurement processes, everything that's necessary to bring on the proper staff to do that, you're looking at several years typically. It could be 3 to 4 years, depending on the size of the building and the scope of the project. It could be anywhere from 6 months to a year for design alone.
So we assume that it might take 4 years to build it. All right. What and how many years do we have to obligate ourselves for the property in Livonia?
That would be a purchase.
Oh, you'll be purchasing,
That's
so it
correct.
would be forever. And understanding that you got to have some place for these officers to be in the meanwhile, I don't think that they can wait 4 years for it to be built, for you to build a new building. To those who say that we want to keep it where it is. You know, you can't keep it where it is because you know that the building's got to be torn down. You know, you can't use that building. And so what is the alternative? What's the alternative? Yeah. You gotta get a place now for these officers to go. So you can't just hold on to a raggedy building that you can't use. So, I mean, just common sense tells you that you gotta act now. And if we're talking about that place being so filled with mold until you can't even walk around it, then you got to just get in your mind and release that building. You need to release it and just move forward. However you move forward. I'm not saying how you move forward, but I know that you ought to understand that you just got to go ahead and release the building. Okay, the building's gone. And then the next step is, what do you do after that? Right now, you got to have a place right now. So I don't know, maybe you go ahead and get the building that you recommending, and then work on, at the same time, creating a new building that you can eventually use, and then you can use the other building for something else.
That's a good segue, Commissioner, to a sidebar that Commissioner Baidoon and I had. Commissioner Baidoon.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. So I think I have a compromise that would probably satisfy everyone. But let me ask this question. How many square feet is the new facility being proposed on Middle Belt? Do we know that?
I can find that.
And how many square feet does the sheriff department need in order to operate efficiently with the gun range under Sheriff Jaffer? How many square feet would you require in order to operate efficiently with full capacity, if you will?
So, we'd really have to go and do some serious measuring to give you an exact figure. But based on the tour we took on the building, we're able to, with it being gutted, we figured we can put in five stalls for a gun range, which would be adequate. And we'd also be able to house Homeland Security in part of the building upstairs. So it was going to be a multifunctional building with the gun range, and also put Homeland Security in there along with the sheriff's office. So to give you the exact, I can't give you exact precise. Oh, and the clerk's office, I'm sorry. Can't forget about that. Which is really nice about the fact that it's been gutted is I envisioned a beautiful space for the clerk's office. When you walk into the building, now that it's open, we'll have a spot for the clerk's office. So in reality, you'll have 3 different county entities in that one building.
So probably I'm going to venture to guess about 12 to 15,000 square feet.
It's more
maybe.
than,
So what we're looking at for the Livonia property, I'm showing 37,582 square feet. And for the Henry Ruff property, 18,800.
We're talking about not the size of the property, we're talking about the structure of the building. So Henry Ruff is about 18,000 square feet?
So according to, again, the overall high-arching summary that with the internal, 18,000.
Here's the question.
What about the new one you said?
37.
It's 37,582.
So it sounds like from what Under Sheriff Jaffer is saying, that the sheriff department is not going to occupy 37,000 square feet. They're going to occupy part of that building and the clerk's office and Homeland Security also. This is good, fine and dandy.
Through the chair, we will occupy a majority of the building, but we found space for other entities.
Okay, obviously that's those entities are paying rent somewhere right now, and they're going to be coming over there, or I'm not sure about that part. But if you were to purchase this building today in Livonia, when will you be able to move in? Because you obviously need to be somewhere. You need the gun range. If you were to purchase and close on this property today, you said there's some issues with renovation. How long will it take for the sheriffs to move in?
Great question. So we anticipate the renovations thus far. Now, these aren't the confirmed plans, 5 to 6 months.
5 to 6
Yeah.
months.
Currently, what's going on right now is, to speak to the mold component,
So,
is air remediation. Well, remediation of all the mold is taking place at this point.
so if you were to 5 to 6 months, is it your plan under Sheriff Jafer to address Commissioner Basham's concern that you would find a satellite office to serve the downriver area?
Thank you for asking that question, because I had that conversation with Basham when he walked through the building with me, and I made it very clear that if he gets us a location
Okay.
downriver, I will be.
Well,
more
I
than
got the
happy to.
location for
But we
you.
also have a very robust, and thanks to this wonderful body, you know, Elizabeth Park is downriver, and we got a brand new, thanks to this commission, a brand new dock and a brand new building that we're very proud of. And we do have we operate out of that building. We meet over there. We have roll calls there whenever we have an operation in that area, just for the record. But the answer is yes.
Under Sheriff Jafer, how many square feet? I know we have a satellite office in Dearborn.
Uh-huh.
How many square feet would you require to have a satellite office, would you say?
I mean, you know, a satellite office is for presence and for officers to be able to go in there and
Yes.
do the reports. Not much, really.
3,000-4,000?
1,000.
Okay, so here's my suggestion. If we think this is such a good deal on Middle Belt, and we can move in within 6 to 7 months, and we own the property at Henry Ruff, I would be willing to support this proposal where we can move into the Livonia property. We keep the Henry Ruff, we demolish the building, or if Commissioner Basham seems to think we can repair the building, if we have to demolish the building, it should not take us 2 to 3 years to build 2,000 or 3,000 square feet. That becomes the satellite office at Henry Ruff. You keep Henry Ruff, you build a satellite office, you move all your gun range and the sheriffs to the Livonia property. Because we're not paying for the Henry Ruff, we already own it. How much would it cost to build a 2,000 square feet property at Henry Ruff?
Are you asking me that
Yeah,
question?
I mean, really, I'm thinking
have an
out
idea.
loud. I'm thinking out loud.
No.
So, okay, so let's say 5,000 square feet. Let's say 5,000
Right.
square feet, okay? But we still own the property.
So,
And how much is it gonna cost? You know, based on my experience in commercial real estate, I would say probably about $125 to $150 a square foot. You do the math for 5,000 square feet building. This way, you satisfied the needs of the downriver area. We still have the location. Okay, and then you have the new facility in Livonia. I think it's a fair compromise if we can work it together. Again, you're saying that you could potentially buy the property in Livonia at a lesser cost because of the damage that was done, right? And the insurance company is going to repair that. And again, I go back to dollars and cents. What makes sense? And we need to address the concerns of the residents of downriver, obviously. Instead of going downriver to find another property, we already have the property. Why not demolish the building and build a 5,000 square feet building? Maybe he'll live with 4,000 square feet, would be cheaper. And that becomes the satellite office.
Through the chair, some stats that I wanted to convey. So the Henry Ruff building is approximately 21,000 square feet.
Okay.
So it's a little bit larger, still larger than the Middle Belt property, certainly. It sits on approximately smaller. I haven't had lunch yet. Yeah. The property itself is approximately 5 acres. So there is a bit of land, that you can move around that, well, maybe one building in the future, it is possible. I think there's enough space there to demolish one building while building another, and you're not going to impede the two. They can happen simultaneously.
I love that idea because you have 5 acres on a major corner. Why even sell it? Keep that property, demolish, build something smaller to address the residents of downriver and Commissioner Basham, and move to Livonia where you have 5 stalls. How many stalls do we have at Henry Ruff in terms of the gun range? I don't know.
10, I believe. 10.
10?
Yeah, we have
Do you
10.
need more than, do you need?
No, so we five would be adequate. The more the merrier, but
Okay.
at the same time, again, I'm wearing a law enforcement cap. I can wear a construction cap at times, but that's not my profession. we're kind of, I would say, throwing in the towel to save money for the county. But we have an opportunity here based on the fact that we're definitely going to save tons of money based on the fact that what Mr. Hurst explained, you have an architect that's hired by the seller that's saying, hey, tell us what you want and we'll build it out for you.
By the way, I didn't ask about the cost of the building in Livonia. Can you share that with us? Or what they're asking, actually, it's probably public records anyway.
Not yet, but it will
okay.
be. But so currently we do have a
You don't
sign.
have to answer if you don't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
Yeah. Why won't you be able to answer?
Okay,
that?
I'm just
So, I
asking.
mean, the seller has
Speculation.
a signed purchase agreement that, of course, has to go in front of the commission. So it's $1,450,000 is the cost of the new building. Additionally, I did want to clarify, Commissioner Baydoun, we haven't negotiated a reduced price. We will get at this point, we're negotiating a building that's going to be in much better condition at the same price. That's what we're
Okay, so
negotiating.
$1,450,000 with the current condition, but you're saying that it's gonna be
It's gonna be better
upgraded, it's up. Okay,
Through the chair, that was prior to us understanding that there was a flood. So
Okay.
that cost was
what's the parking situation of this facility? I haven't seen it. I don't know where it is.
Oh,
Big.
Through the
Okay.
chair, very good parking.
So if I look at this again, I'm wearing my real estate hat.
You should.
That's $39 per square foot. Okay, you could not even come close to building such a commercial building for this cost. Therefore, we're already making money. Buy this building, I will support it, but address Commissioner Basham, keep Henry Ruff, and let's put a new building for the downriver area.
So we have a,
One, you have to look the size of the public safety of the Wayne County Sheriff. They don't have that many. Really, it's very small. Our public safety in Wayne County Sheriff, it surprised me for county like Wayne. We need to triple the number of the officers.
Yeah.
We need to do the job. Really, honestly, I'm really was disappointed when I start to know the number of the officer Wayne County Sheriff have. We, given it, to be able to be good county, you have to be safe to live and do business in the county. And for that, you need a good public safety department. I hope one day I'll see it be large enough to feel comfortable. We have a good number of sheriff on the road, in every area. We need them. But now we're talking too many satellite, and we have a very small public safety sheriff department. And if you disagree with me, please, I'm open to learn more. If I'm wrong, tell me.
but don't tell them right now because it's 2:00. So we have,
I have one more
and let me,
point.
before you go to all your points, excuse me. We have about 3 people who'd like to speak. We are not solving this issue today.
No.
This was for discussion, to put it out there as to where we are and what's going on and the feel of individual commissioners about, and to provide maybe some solutions, but not to solve it today. So we've had a great discussion about it. I see you, Ray. So I'm going to ask that you make quick points and that our gentlemen don't have to answer. Just listen to their points, write them down so we can conclude this. Commissioner Basham, I'm sorry, Commissioner Bay, doing really quick, the Commissioner Basham.
Yeah, my last question was, if we purchase this property for $1,450,000, which is a bargain at $39 a square foot, how much more do we need to invest in the building to make it operational as a Wayne County Sheriff's Office center with the gun ranges? How much more money do we need? You don't have to answer this right now. That's another question that we're asking. How much more money do we need to invest to make it operational?
Yep, that's a good question. Commissioner Basham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Whether the administration wants to admit it or not, we're a part of this process. When did they put a deposit on this particular property? How long ago?
through the chair. There's never been a deposit put down on the property.
It has been, I was told.
No. that
That's
is
not to my
true.
knowledge.
I was told it was.
Talk to your mic, sir.
Okay, ma'am. The other part too, is none of this has ever come in front of this commission like today. And when the administration brings us an up or down vote on something as complex as this, then I personally have a problem with it. I've been involved in local, state, and county government for a long time, and we should be part of the discussion process, which is what we're doing today. This is a long time ago when this was toured and a deposit was put down and so on and so forth. And so and to have, like, we talked about the gun ranges, Taylor has a, they have a state-of-the-art gun range. They have an indoor and outdoor range. Then we had a supplier of Wayne County has Top Gun has a gun range. They're very accommodating by. So there's a lot of gun ranges out there if you wanted to get the reserves to be able to shoot. So my thing is, rather than bring us for an up or down vote, I know we went back and forth and bumped heads a lot today, but that's what this process should be about. We're a public entity, and the public has a right to know what we're doing, and we need to keep sunshine on this process. And my thing, and I try to make my point, is that what's good for the western, 50 some miles away from Wayne County should also be good for downriver. And so why should we fight on that? If we talk about with limited resources, why not put it in the center? Was talking about tearing down the Henry Ruff building. We have enough property over there where they could just go ahead and start building a building and tear that one down later. We don't need to have that tore down and wait 2 years before we start building a building. We have those resources. So, I mean, there's a lot of reasons we need to keep this. And the reason the former electeds many years ago chose that for the hospital and that for the sheriff's office was because it's the center of the county, close to the parks, close to the freeways. And so, it's close to 96 if you go to the other one, but it's certainly not close to 75 or Lake Erie.
I mean,
Quick.
through the chair, I don't disagree with building a brand new building, just for the record. That would be an amazing thing for the sheriff's office. But I also agree with Commissioner Clark. We need something now. And you have an opportunity with a real estate professional, $39 a square foot. This is Wayne County is the biggest county in the state of Michigan. That building can always be utilized in this county. So with that being said, I don't want to make sure that if we can build a brand new building, even better. But we need to be in a building now.
We do, but also we're currently have some sheriff's officers working out of a trailer.
We do.
And so they're currently doing that.
That needs to stop.
Thank you.
Well, it needs to, we should have looked at it a long time ago. But the point is that there should be planning and there should be maintenance. This building didn't just start falling apart and have mold on it like that. It's been going on for 20, 30 years.
Well, we were not around.
Yeah, we got it. So we appreciate all the comments. One quick question, then we'll go on to the next item. The deadline for the Livonia building, is there a deadline? I heard you mention something about the owner and wanted to know something before they invest any more money. Is there a deadline? And if so, what is that deadline?
So to the chair, thank you for asking. So two things to note. One, to my knowledge, there's been no down payment for the building. It is currently in the process, though, to come in front of the commission. The reason it has not come in front of the commission is because the terms are incomplete. And so I want the purchase agreement to be complete to where, again, we protected the county. Now that we have this known issue where we need renovations and the owner's at the owner's responsibility.
Right.
So it is currently with our attorneys to just iron out those last terms so that, so we can have a completed purchase agreement that we can put in front of commission. I'm looking to have that within the next couple of months at the latest.
Couple of months. Okay.
To his point, I'm sorry. Again, my real estate hat is working here. What is the due diligence period? 60 days? Are we in a position to extend the due diligence period for another 60 days if needed?
And that's exactly what the language that our core counsel is working on is making sure what is the best language to bring back to the owner so that all hearts and minds pretty much are satisfied there and we can move forward with this purchase.
Thank you so much for your time. This will continue on. If there's some questions that you didn't have asked today, I'm sure they'll be around, of course, to answer any burning questions that you may have. But thank you for this initial discussion. When it comes before us, it'll probably go to either public safety or government operations for more discussion. But thank you all for coming today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Madam Clerk, next item.
Such other matters as may properly be submitted before the committee.
The only other matter is that we are going to start tomorrow at 10 o'clock sharp, 10 o'clock sharp, 10 o'clock sharp tomorrow. Next item.
Public comments.
Anyone on Zoom for public comments? Any emails for public comments?
No emails were received.
Anybody on the phone for public comments?
Nobody.
Anybody in the audience for public comments?
There's no one on Zoom.
Okay, next item.
Adjournment.
Thank